Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to our December 12th, 2023 City Council meeting. In the interest of government transparency with regards to deliberations and decisions made by the City Council and according to open meeting law, for the convenience of the public, this meeting is recorded by video and audio, and a Zoom link was posted on the agenda. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer or device, there's a raised hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. Because we have members of the council that are calling in remotely, tonight we will have to do roll call votes. I'd like to read the non-discrimination statement opener for City Council meetings. It's the finding of the City of Gloucester that no individual should be denied equal treatment or opportunity because of their age, ancestry, color, disability, including intellectual and developmental mental disability, family status, immigration status, gender identity or expression, military status, marital status, national origin, race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. I'd like to now announce the attendees tonight. We have Jeff Wardley, at-large councilor. We have Jason Grow, at-large city councilor. We have Sean Nolan, Ward 5 city councilor, and our council vice president. I'm Val Gilman. I'm Ward 4 city councilor, and I'm also the president of the council. We have Frank Margiotta, who is our Ward 3 city councilor, soon to be Ward 4 city councilor. And we have Grace Poirier, who is our assistant city clerk, who is filling in for Joanne Sinos tonight as our city clerk. And on our remote, we have Scott Memard, who is our Ward 1 city councilor. We have Councilor Jamie O'Hara, who is at large. We have Scott, Jason, and Councilor O'Neill is going to be zooming in, and I don't yet see her. We have other members of city staff that are on the call tonight. We have John Dunn, who is our CFO. We have Jenny Benedict, who is our executive director of Sawyer Free Library. And we have Ryan Knowles, our IT person, who's been working here for hours, and we don't know what we would do without you, Ryan, so thank you. Yeah, thank you. And Ben Lummis, our superintendent of schools. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you. So we are going to mix up the agenda just slightly tonight. Having done the attendance, I would just like to note that we'd like to do the flag salute, and then after that, I'd like you to stay standing, and we're going to do a moment of silence for someone very special. So tonight, roll call vote is Sean Nolan. So Sean, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great, and then remain standing.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
I'd like you to remain standing. And tonight we'd like to do a moment of silence for Vito Colombo, husband of the late Josephine Kukuru, who passed away this past Friday, December 9th, 2023, at Care 1 in Beverly. Vito was born in Gloucester on April 19th, 1944, graduated from Gloucester High, and served in the U.S. Coast Guard. He was a 52-year member of the Gloucester Lodge of Elks and a 20-year member of the St. Peter's Club. He was also the former Ward 4 City Councilor and a member of the Fisheries Commission. His funeral mass will be at St. Anne's Church tomorrow morning at 10, and Councilor Worthley would like to say a few more words of this moment of silence.
Thank you, President Gilman. I had the opportunity to serve with Vito Calamo right here. He sat right where you sit, Frank. He and I could not be more different. Physically, he was very short. He was a big, tall man. He had a strong, loud voice, But we had a lot of similarities too, in that he always advocated for the little guy. He always stood up for people. And he was very respectful. And he was someone who I think took positions very seriously and also took the being a citizen of Gloucester very seriously. He'll be very missed. And I want to dedicate this moment to him as well. Thank you.
A moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to begin the meeting by just mentioning that we're going to do the first part of the meeting out of order. And we are going to begin with our presentations. And because of scheduling issues right now with some of the people being honored, we'd like to begin with the citations to the Gloucester 400th Tri-Chairs, Executive Director, and Event Coordinator. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix this up and we're going to call individually the members that are being recognized. We're going to read a citation and then we're going to do this for all 5 folks. And then at the end of that, we'll have an opportunity for a photo. So we're excited to be doing this and I'm going to begin. And I have the first pleasure of bringing up Ruth Pino to meet me over there, and we're going to read your citation, Ruth. It's an honor, Ruth, to have you here. You were here at the beginning of the year to kick off this process, this exciting 400th, and your team has not let us down in our city, so thank you. So this reads as follows. Ruth Pino, special citation. As one of 3 honorable tri-chairs of the city's 400th anniversary celebration, our Gloucester City Council salutes you for your limitless vision and leadership in upholding the mission of this prestigious 400+ milestone. This mission to commemorate, celebrate, and promote knowledge of Gloucester's 400+ years of cultural, social, ethnic, and economic diversity was fulfilled to the fullest, largely because of your passion, dedication, enthusiasm, creativity, ingenuity, and presence. Your love for our city is infectious. Your spirit exudes positivity as you succeeded in getting people to work together for a common goal, the city that we love. As your 400th year comes to a close, a most exciting milestone, your leadership and results has positioned us well to achieve our 400th anniversary vision, to inspire future generations, to honor the past, and work collectively to frame the future. Given under this seal of the City of Gloucester, this 12th day of December 2023, members of our 2022-2023 Gloucester City Council, Val Gilman, Sean Nolan, Scott Memard, Frank Majota, Tony Gross, Jason Groh, Jamie O'Hara, and Jeff Worthley, congratulate you. Thank you. And we'll be coming back for a photo op at the end of all of this. So next up is Sean Nolan. Would you come up, Sean, and introduce the person that you're going to be recognizing?
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'm going to be reading for one of the more important people in the city who worked on the 400th with everybody else, Isabel Pett. Isabel, have you come up tonight? As our program events calendar manager of the city's 400th plus anniversary celebration of Gloucester, City Council salutes you for the limitless vision and leadership in upholding the mission of this prestigious 400 plus milestone. This mission to commemorate, celebrate, and promote knowledge of the Gloucester's 400 plus years of cultural, social, ethnic, and economic diversity was fulfilled to the fullest, largely because of your innate ability to organize and schedule the day-to-day events, including vendors, partners, media, channels, city administration, and staff, accompanied with your outstanding interpersonal skills and attention to detail. Members of the City Council and your colleagues were not surprised when the board president of the Cape Ann Symphony gave you a personal shout out for a job well done during the concert intermission. Your love for the city is infectious. Your spirit exudes positivity, and you succeed in getting people to work together for a common goal, the city that we love. As our 400th year comes to a close, a most exciting milestone, your leadership and your organization skills have positioned us well to achieve our 400th anniversary vision, to inspire future generations to honor the past and work collectively to the frame to the future. Given under the seal of the City of Gloucester on this 12th day of December 2023, members of the 2022-23 City Council, thank you. And that's Valerie Gilman, Council President, Ward 4, Sean Nolan, myself, Vice President, Ward 5, Scott Memhard, Ward 1, Frank Majota, Ward 3, Tony Gross, at large, Jason Grow, Councilor at large, Jamie O'Hara, Council at large, and Jeff Worthley, Council at large. Thank you very much, Isabel, for all your work.
And now I'd like to ask at-large Councilor Jeff Worthley to introduce and give the citation to Bob Gillis, one of our tri-chairs.
Bob has lots of titles. I'm going to give another one, the man with the strongest handshake in Gloucester. I was going to say that before I get up here, but of course, my hand's already hurting. Thank you, Bob. This is a special citation given by the Gloucester City Council. As one of 3 honorable tri-chairs of our city's 400th anniversary celebration, our Gloucester City Council salutes you for your limitless vision and leadership in upholding the mission of this prestigious 400th milestone. This mission, quote, to commemorate, celebrate, and promote knowledge of Gloucester's 400 years of cultural, social, ethnic, and economic diversity was fulfilled to the fullest, largely because of your passion, determination, enthusiasm, creativity, integrity, and local business knowledge. Your love for our city is infectious. Your spirit exudes positivity as you succeed in getting people to work together for a common goal, the city that we love. As our 400th year comes to a close, a most exciting milestone, your leadership and results have positioned us well to achieve our 400th anniversary vision, to inspire future generations to honor the past and work collectively to frame the future. Given under the seal of the City of Gloucester, this 12th day of December 2023, members of the Gloucester City Council 2022-2023, and signed unanimously. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask at-large Councilor Jason Grow to introduce our 3rd tri-chair, Bruce Toby.
Get over here. How are you? Good. It's an honor. My former colleague on this council, long time. I'm here to present a special citation to Bruce Toby. He's one of our 3 honorable tri-chairs of our city's 400 plus anniversary celebration. Our Gloucester City Council salutes you and your limitless vision and leadership in upholding the mission of this prestigious 400 plus milestone. This mission to commemorate, celebrate, and promote knowledge of Gloucester's 400 plus years of cultural, social, ethnic, and economic diversity was fulfilled to the fullest, largely because of your passion, dedication, enthusiasm, creativity, wisdom, and institutional knowledge as a former city councilor, school committee member, and mayor. Your love for our city is infectious. Your spirit exudes positivity as you succeeded in getting people to work together for a common goal, the city that we love. As our 400th year comes to a close, the most exciting milestone, your leadership and results has positioned us well to achieve our 400th anniversary vision, to inspire future generations to honor the past and work collectively to frame the future. Given under the seal of the City of Gloucester this 12th day of December 2023, members of the 2022-2023 Gloucester City Council as signed below. Thank you. You get to keep.
I also want to note that Councilor Tracy O'Neill is dialed in remotely. And also Kenny Costa, who is our auditor, is also on the call. And our fifth citation awardee is given to our Executive Director, Alcia Swart, and we'd like to ask Frank Margiotta, our Ward 3 City Councilor, to present that. Thank you.
As our Executive Director of our city's 400th anniversary celebration, our Gloucester City Council salutes you for your limitless vision and leadership in upholding the mission of this prestigious 400+ milestone. The mission to commemorate, celebrate, and promote knowledge of Gloucester's 400+ years of cultural, social, ethnic, and economy diversity was fulfilled to the fullest, largely because of your initiability to manage and oversee the day-to-day operations of 400 volunteers, partners, vendors, city administration, staff, accompanied with your outstanding interpersonal and your planning skills. Your love for our cities is infectious. Your spirit exudes positivity as you succeed in getting people to work together for a common goal, the city that we love. As our 400th year comes to a close, a most exciting milestone, your leadership and your results originated operational skills have possessed us well to achieve our 400th anniversary vision to inspire future generations to honor the past and work collectively to frame the future. Given under the seal of the City of Gloucester this 12th day of December 2023, members of the 2022-23 Gloucester City Council. One here in a room. Thank you so much, Travis.
So I'd love to invite all of the five up. And we're going to, first of all, we're going to take a picture of just the five of you. And then we're going to have a photo op where all of us will stand next to the person we just gave the award to. So the five recipients of citations, if you'd come up, and we're going to give people an opportunity for a photo op.
And just one of me by myself.
Yes, right in front of there. Yep. Thank you all. Thank you for coming, and we know how busy you are. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
A presentation by Mern Sibley, Board President of the Sawyer Free Library, and Jenny Benedict, Library Director, regarding capital fundraising update.
Welcome, Mern. Would you introduce yourself to all of us, although we all know who you are? And note that the rest of the council is online and listening and watching. So
Good evening. I'm Mern Sibley I live at 107 Mount Pleasant Avenue. I think that you're supposed to say that, right?
Yep.
Your address. I am the president of the Sawyer Free Library Board of Trustees. And with me tonight also is Jenny Benedict, who is the library director. And after I give my talk, we'll be happy to answer any questions you folks might have. So I just want to start by saying it's great to be here tonight on the final night of the 2022-2023 Gloucester City Council, because you guys will be remembered by us at the library for a very long time for your unanimous approval of our line of credit that allowed us to start this great project, allowed us, first of all, to accept an amazing grant from the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners that then allowed us to start construction across the road there. And I'm sure you've been watching it for the last month or so. So let me see here, share my screen. Okay. All right, that seems to work. Okay, great. So there we are. Yes, so as I mentioned, this council is outgoing, and it's been a great council for us personally, and I'm sure in many other ways as well. But the other point to make is this is really an example of a great public-private partnership. The library and the city working together, not just the city council, the entire administration working with us. And this is not new. The library and the city have been working together for many, many years, but this is the most ambitious thing we've ever done together, and it's really exciting. Okay. So this is the project team. We have some really good people here. Many of them are well known to you folks already. Anyone who does business with the city already knows about Doran Whittier and W.T. Rich, people who build things and design things. I did want to call attention to our design architects, Odin's Ello Architecture. These are the folks who actually have designed the library proper, itself and its spaces. And I pointed out because Matt Odins and his colleagues are very experienced library architects. They're people who know the spaces that need to be in a library, people who know how people move around in the library and how they interact in a library. So we're very fortunate to have actual library architect designing this building. The other important part of this project is the City Building Committee, and this is a city group, which is appointed by the mayor, public meeting every Thursday, not every Thursday, first Thursday of the month at 5:30. You see it has Jenny is the chair. Then we have people representing the construction industry, the building trades, public at large. And we also have Stacy Capone, the City of Gloucester purchasing agent. And the purpose of this committee is really to update frequently on the project as well as approve all the invoices. So it's a very important committee in that regard. And we have great city advisors, Ryan Knowles, the IT fellow, Joe Lucido from DPW, and John Dunn, City of Gloucester CFO. So it's a very busy committee. Okay, so what's been happening over the past year? I did give you folks an update from Budget and Finance, but this is our first real update in the City Council since that memorable night in October of 2022. So in January, we did our first city permitting act of getting the Historic District Commission to give us a certificate of appropriateness. Then in February, we got our site plan approval from the Planning Board. And in March, Zoning Board of Appeals got a special permit. And then City Council, you folks gave us a special permit for height. And I should point out the new building will not be higher than the old one, but it is not zoning conforming. So we had to get that permission. And then finally, last but not least, building inspector gave us our building permit. So we're basically done now with the city process. Okay, so then moving on to what's really happening across Dale Avenue. So I think I saw many of you at the groundbreaking on September the 29th. It was a really fun afternoon. And then they didn't waste any time at WT Rich. A couple weeks later, they were mobilizing, getting the whole thing organized, and demolition was starting in October. And so you see from this graph, or table, I guess you could call it. So here we are in 2023. This red line shows us the time of now. So basically, they've mostly completed the demolition. It's like 80% complete. And abatement of hazardous materials, which turned out to be not too significant, is basically done. And the site utilities have started work on that, the transformer, getting all the electrical stuff figured out. And currently, as you can see, they're doing the existing building steel work, really critical, because we are taking that 1976 building shell and making it part of the library. And so that steel has to be stable and secure. So they're working on that now, as well as the foundation for the new addition. So that's what you're seeing. So these next pictures are showing you some of the scenes that you might see. This picture right here, upper left, is showing the parking lot side of the building, the School Street side. And so you can see that the back wall of the 1976 building has been removed, and that's where the addition is going to go. And then next to it, you can see they're doing a lot of foundation work on the addition. So that's all happening. And then on the Dale Avenue side, down here on the lower left, we see what we're looking at is the 1913 library stack wing that has been opened up to see how much space there really is in there. And that's going to be a beautiful art gallery in the new library. And so Saunders House is over here on the left, and the main entrance to the library will be on the right. And that's what you're seeing in the final photo. Here we see that same 1913. That's going to be the beautiful new gallery, the Matt's Gallery. And then here is going to be the main entrance to the library. So that's all happening now. So money, finances. So we have from our WT Rich contractor agreement, guaranteed maximum price of $23.1 million. We've done some soil testing, as you see, for $300,000, and some important IT work early on had to be done. Then we've awarded some contracts that are already negotiated, $2.3 million for professional services, including architecture. And we have an estimate right now, because this is going to come later in the story, of the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. You know, I didn't talk about, okay, let me go up here. Oop. Okay, one thing I wanted to say back here about the timeline of construction, because I just talked about what was happening right now, but as you see, all these other things. So if you look at next summer, they're going to be doing a lot of the exterior envelope work, and then substantial completion in early 2025, and actual occupancy of this building in the summer of 25. So that's the plan. I forgot to say that. All right, so back to the money. We also have an owner's contingency, meaning if things come up, unexpected things, as they always do, we have a little over $2 million for that. So the grand total brings us to 29 million, which is a number that's probably familiar to this council. So what have we been spending? Well, fiscal 23 that ended back in July 1, we've just spent a very small amount of money so far because we hadn't even started construction yet. So that was probably mostly professional services. And now we're in fiscal 24, and we're projecting we're going to spend about 7.4 million. We haven't spent it anywhere near that yet, but that's the projection. And then most of the money will be spent in fiscal 25, 73% of it, 21.1 million. And then the total coming out to 29. And the reason these other years are out here is because we have grants that take a full 5 years to come to fruition. So that's why those blanks are there, if that makes sense. So fundraising, how are we doing? Okay, so critical things to think about are in blue, our initial grant that we got from Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners of 9.3, critical piece of funding for that. We also got, I think, late spring of this year, May or June, we got an additional 1 million from the MBLC, And they call that pandemic escalation because basically there were 10 libraries that were approved at the same time we were for funding back in 2016, a long time ago. And so costs have gone up very seriously, as you all know. And so we and the other 9 libraries petitioned for more money, you know, that seemed like a good idea to us. And the MBLC did respond, and as well as with some help from our legislators, Bruce Tarr and Margaret Ferrante, we did get an additional 1 million. So that's what you're seeing in the sort of yellow color there. And then we've been doing a lot of fundraising of our own, from grants, from corporations, and from individual folks all over Gloucester and Cape Ann. We have now gotten close to 8 million, $7.8 million. So if you add up those 3 that are committed, we get to 18.1 million. So right now, committed funding is about a little over 60% of the project. And then the sort of pink color shown here is a federal program, which I can describe if people are interested, which we have a very strong likelihood of getting awarded. We're going to find out more about this in the first quarter of this coming year, 2024, and that's going to give us around $3 million, which will be a big help to our work. And finally, the red is what we need to raise, which you can see 7.9. So over the next several years, that's our goal. And I'm very confident that with the great folks we have working at the library, as well as consultants that are helping us, we will definitely achieve that. So any questions?
Thank you so much, Myrn. That was really helpful. And also we have Jenny Benedict here if we have any questions. Jenny, would you come up and just introduce yourself because you do so much work for us? Thank you.
So good evening, counselors. It's so great to be here with an update on the project. And we'd be happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. And I see that we have a board member, Joe Grilla, who is online, and Simon Paddock is also here. Is there anyone else here that we should recognize as a member of the board? And Bill Cuff? Yes?
Bill Cuff is the chair of our library foundation, which is our channel for fundraising in the library. And we also have Simon Paddock, who's our building committee, very active in the building and the design.
And of course, our superintendent of schools, it's an honor to have him here as well, because he does an awful lot with the library. So thank you, Superintendent Lummis. All right, counselors, let's open it up for any questions. And on Zoom, we have Council O'Hara, Council Gross, Council O'Neill, and Council Memard. Any hands up on? So we'll start with Council Nolan, then Council Grow, and then Council Worthley for a question.
It's not actually a question because you haven't really given us anything we need to question. Everything has been working well with this committee. I feel the city of Gloucester has been updated on every inch. The communication with your board and the members of the Sawyer Free Library has been wonderful to work with. I'm very excited for this. It's going to be a great integral part of the modern uses of Gloucester libraries. And I just want to thank you all for what you've done to get us here. I'm in full support.
Thank you, Council Nolan. Council Grow.
Dang it. That's what I was going to say. Seriously, it's so exciting to see what you guys are doing over there and to see how it fits in with everything else that's going on in downtown. I mean, I think Gloucester's downtown is undergoing sort of a new renaissance, which is very exciting to see the library be a part of, and I think is going to be a real locus for the community. And I'm very excited to see what's happening. It's just terrific, and I just want to thank you.
Thank you, Council Grow. Council Worthley.
Thank you. I couldn't say it better than either Councilor Nolan or Councilor Grow. It's remarkable what you're doing, and we're very lucky to have you. So thank you very much. Just a couple of questions. Would there be any role the council can play to help you secure the $3 million federal funds? Would a resolution from the council, would us maybe lobbying our delegation, our congressman, we'll make a call, but something official, right? You know, that's.
So thank you very much for offering that. We are working with consultants on that grant, and we will certainly put that question to them and get back to you.
Okay, let us know on that. The other question you had, a large number, I think it was 18, no, I forget, maybe it was 8 million fundraising that was pledged. Is that money that you 100% expect to get 100% of that money, or is there, is it, I don't know the industry well enough to say, is that a best guess? Because sometimes people pledge and then when it's time to pay up, they don't always have the funds they thought they have. Is there something that might be enlightening for us to know on that?
I expect we're going to get pretty much all of it because we're going to work to get all of it. Yeah, I mean, nothing is 100% in the fundraising world. I can't really give you an estimate, but I think it's going to be the vast majority of that 18.1, not to mention the rest.
And the last question, and this is a construction related question. I don't expect you have an answer. If you don't have it, it's fine. But based on the costs to date and your expected costs to date, I know with every other project we've dealt with has been inflation and things have been surprises as far as how much more things have cost. How are we on track or how far are we off track based on your expectation?
I would say that we're doing extraordinarily well in terms of being on budget. Our construction manager is just very savvy in navigating those waters and has really done a lot of advanced planning and thinking in order to protect our budget and our project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Any more counselors here? Council Marjota?
I don't have any questions. I just want to go with my other colleagues and just thank you for all your hard work and your entire team. And I'm looking forward to going to the library. Thank you.
3 small children. I just wanted to note that that our chief, Eric Smith, is also on the call, chief of the fire department. So counselors that are online, any of you like to raise your hand? Council Memard's got his hand raised. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I would just like to join my fellow counselors in congratulating Mern and Jenny and all of their team, those that are there and the rest of you. I don't think you're properly recognizing the significance of this step. I think it's bigger than you're all letting on. I mean, this has been something that's been tried and tried and tried. This is like the 4th try. And we're now in a position to get it across the line. But it's been an incredibly long time coming and a huge effort by the city. And there have been several missteps previously, but we're here now. And it's just a really exciting stage in this game. And it's wonderful that it comes on the tail of the 400th celebration that's going to launch our new Sawyer-Free Library for 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Memard. Any other counselors like to ask any questions or make any comments? Seeing none, I would just like to make 2 comments. First of all, one of the reasons that we are here is that we've discussed the fact that every 6 months that we wanted to get an update. So we thank you for coming in front of our council before the end of our term to do that 6 months update on the fundraising, because that's important. Because we've given you a loan and we know how hard you are working to fulfill that obligation. So we thank you. I also wanted to personally thank you for the energy. It takes a village to build a library or to renovate a library like we are. And the vibe in the community is so behind this. It was that the groundbreaking was just notable. It was just such a good feel-good moment. And then the Lego event downtown with all the kids building Legos, it was so creative. It was just so innovative. And it's so nice to see a lot of young families with their children getting really excited about the library, because libraries have changed over the many, many years. And without a library in our community, we'd really be missing out. So we're going to have the most state-of-the-art library, and we're just really excited. So thank you both for being here tonight. Thank you to the board members who are here and all your hard work. And we're really behind you. So thank you.
Thanks for the kind words.
Thanks for the hard work.
Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Citations to outgoing city councilors.
So typically, when we have counselors that are not going to be on the council going forward, we've traditionally wanted to make sure that they're recognized and that you're earmarked in our historical records. And so tonight we have two counselors that are dialing in remotely, and this will be their last meeting. And I'd like to first ask Councilor Nolan to read the citation in honor of Councilor Jamie O'Hara, who has worked with us for 8 years. And this is his last night. So Councilor Nolan.
Thank you, everybody. Jamie, it's been 8 years of working with you, and it's been a pleasure. We've gotten a lot of things done. We've worked hard with the community. I'm going to miss working with you on particular issues. So there being said, I'd like the City Council commendation be hereby known to all the City of Gloucester. City Council hereby commends Councilor James W. O'Hara Jr. Whereas the end of 2022, 2023 City Council terms means that Councilor O'Hara will no longer be serving as an elected official in the City of Gloucester. Therefore, we, the members of the City Council, deem it fitting and proper that there be inscribed upon our records our appreciation for the dedication and valuable service of Councilor O'Hara. Wherefore, we express our sincere gratitude for your 8 years of service as a councilor and our appreciation for your accomplishments while serving on this body. Furthermore, we also take this opportunity to express our gratitude on behalf of the citizens of Gloucester for your dedicated years of service. Wherefore, we find that whatever the future holds for you in public or private life, we know that the experience you have gained in the council will inspire you to even greater efforts for Gloucester. Signed this day, 12th day of December, 2023, the Gloucester City Councilor. Jamie, thank you very much for all your service to the city.
Councilor O'Hara, would you like to say anything to all of us on this event?
I appreciate the kind words, Sean. It's been an honor to work with you for 8 years, and it's been even a greater honor to represent the constituents, taxpayers of the city of Gloucester. So I appreciate the kind words again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Hara. And then I have the pleasure of giving Councilor O'Neill her City Council commendation. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Gloucester City Council hereby commends Councilor Tracy O'Neill, whereas the end of the 2022-2023 City Council terms means that Councilor O'Neill will no longer be serving as an elected official in the City of Gloucester. Therefore, we, the members of the City Council, deem it fitting and proper that there be inscribed upon our records our appreciation for the dedicated and valuable service of Councilor O'Neill. Wherefore, we express our sincere gratitude for your 2 years of services as a councilor and our appreciation for your accomplishments while serving on this body. Furthermore, we also take this opportunity to express our gratitude on behalf of the citizens of Gloucester for your dedicated years of service. Wherefore, we find that whatever the future holds for you in public or private life, we know that the experience you have gained in the council will inspire you to even greater efforts for Gloucester. Signed this 12th day of December 2023, the Gloucester City Councilors. Councilor O'Neill, would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you. I just want to thank my constituents for their for voting for me and for just for the pleasure of serving them. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve my city. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Any individual questions or comments from the rest of the council? Council Worthley.
Thank you. I've known each of you for decades, it seems now, and had the honor of serving with both of you for the last 2 years. I think in the commendation we say that their time serving is over. I'm guessing that there isn't some place for their voice to be heard, either as citizens or as an elected office or an appointed position at some point. I know for Jamie, you were very, very effective as a city councilor, but also as an individual in your work with the Citizens for Public Safety, getting the fire stations open. And so don't be a stranger to City Hall, to the City Council. And Councilor Neal, I give you credit coming in brand new as a city councilor, asking tough questions and having the courage of your convictions, whether it was popular or not. That means a lot. So thank you for all your contributions.
Thank you, Council Worthy. Anybody else? Council Majota.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Jamie O'Hara for when I started with ONA. He was very helpful in the beginning as a new counselor, and I was able to learn a lot with Councilor O'Hara and Councilor O'Neill. Thank you for stepping up in the position as a ward counselor. It's definitely not an easy position. I think a lot of people have a lot of opinions and don't want to do what we're doing right now. So I applaud you and all of us for actually stepping up and being in this position that we are. It's not always easy and not always appreciated, but it's a lot of work, and thank you.
Any other counselors? So I would just like to comment that having served on the council for 8 years with Councilor O'Hara, he was always a great partner to me as the ward counselor. He was always willing to intervene if I was too close to neighbors that were having issues, and he would help solve a lot of the issues. And his commitment to public safety and the oversight and the push that he had to get 24/7 fire departments was really invaluable. That was one of the big things. That was my first issue back 9 years ago when I was running for my first term. And I will always remember that, Councilor O'Hara. And to Councilor O'Neill, having served on P&D with you for 2 years, we had many challenges, and I will always remember all of your excellent questions and how that you would really dig deep to make sure that you understood things. So totally appreciated. And we know that we'll be seeing both of you in the years to come. So stay involved. Councilor Gross has his hand raised, but thank you both.
Stuff would be rearranged. So Diana, the dermatologist.
John Dunn, I think you have your, you need to mute.
Tomorrow I have Dr. Gurley and then.
Did I try to talk over him?
Okay, we got, he's muted.
Okay. Yeah, Jamie, you've been a crusader for the constituents of Gloucester for your 8 years. You have really spoken out and on behalf of everyone who's ever reached out to you. And I applaud you for your dedication, and that will be missed by your constituents for sure. And Tracy, you were thrown right into the deep end. Your first meeting as a city councilor was taking up the very difficult zoning issues that were that led to an awful lot of community discussion. And you really you did very well drinking from the fire hose during that period and thereafter. So again, you did a great service for your constituents in your ward, and I'd just like to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have your citations, so they'll be available for you. And we, again, hope to see you in the future. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Oral communications.
The public shall have the opportunity at every regularly scheduled meeting to be heard under oral communications on matters not appearing on the agenda. Oral communications shall allow any resident, who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to city business to appear before the council, state their problem without debate, and the matter shall be referred to the proper agency through the office of the mayor. The resident will be notified within a 2-week period relative to the disposition of same, and a copy shall be forwarded to the city council. Persons speaking under oral communications shall be limited to 3 minutes each. I believe Council Nolan will be doing the timing. If you could let somebody know at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Oh, it looks like. Okay. So Council Grow has offered to be the timer. So would anybody like to come up? Jeff Brown, come on up, Jeff, introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes to talk to our council about matters not on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Brown, 145 Essex Ave. And I just want to take a quick moment to thank Jamie O'Hara and Tracy O'Neill. I got to speak with them a little bit regarding Dogtown matters. I think they have integrity, and I think they were very good for the city, and hopefully they'll continue to play a role in one way or another. But my letter, I have a letter today I'd like to read. It's about 500 words, so I can omit one section, but I think I can do it in 3 minutes. Okay. The title of the letter is Cats and Dogtown Still Don't Get Along. Earlier this year, my May 20th letter titled Cats and Dogtown Don't Get Along prompted a response by Nicholas Holland, Principal Officer of Cape Ann Trail Stewards, CATS. In his letter, Cape Ann Trail Stewards Respond, Times, May 24th, Mr. Holland declared that mine was factually incorrect from start to finish. As time has unfolded, I aim to show how CAT's actions prove that my letter was not only accurate at the time of writing, but continues to hold true today. To begin, I stress that CATS appears to be focused on profits. This wasn't because they charge for tours, they do not, but because the organization hired a social media intern and established network ties with many tourist-related businesses. While Mr. Holland stated its funds are derived from individual donors and grantors, we can be certain that the organization pays attention to the bottom line, and not surprisingly, its staff is now starting to reap the benefits. More on this below. I also claim that CATS disregard city regulations with their unauthorized customized trail markers nailed into Dogtown's trees. This is true. A letter from General Counsel states, it has been determined that there are no documents reflecting authorizations or permits given to the Cape Ann Trail Stewards permitting them to install trail markers in Dogtown. In my letter, I also pointed out that CATS has shown a blatant disregard for private property rights. This is also true. Their events page shows that in September 2021, CATS led a hike around a private quarry. It should be of no surprise that private quarry owners would object to a large organized group trespassing on their property. Additionally, I put forth that it is locals who put forth in the effort to cut and clear fallen trees to ensure that Dogtown's trails are obstruction-free. The fact that CATS does not operate power equipment serves to support my claim. Interestingly, just weeks after my letter was published last May, CATS made peculiar changes to its website. Its goal went from promoting Cape Ann trails to supporting them. The organization also deleted a line item saying they are always seeking grant writers, social media, promotion support, and another stating they
10
are
seconds.
a coalition. Sorry, I can speed up here. Subsequently, and rather predictably, in an August Times article, we learned that CATS now has at least one paid staff member. In the end, I stand by my claim that CATS is not the grassroots organization it purports to be. Recent changes to its website support this view, as the organization's online presence displays chameleon-like adaptability while it pursues its own special interests. In reality, CAT's role is akin to a marketing arm for the city's trail networks. One
You
more
have
sentence.
20
To protect the
seconds
integrity of
over.
Dogtown, it's extremely important that area residents continue, now more than ever, their unwavering commitment to caring for this wonderful resource of ours. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Suzanne,
Thank you, Jeff, for the copy of that.
name and address.
Susanne Altenburger, 66 Atlantic Street. As you know, we do boats. Small business around for 71 years, one way or the other. Last week, I had a chance about a week ago to address the New England Fisheries Management Council. What's gone wrong on the fishing fleet? You received all the emails. Why am I always alone there? Nobody from Gloucester shows up and speaks for America's oldest fishing port. It's a very odd phenomenon. Nobody in the House that is responsible for those 1994 rules. They're all gone, those previous folks. I think it would be good if maybe in the future council, come January, one of you folks might join. Show little road show, 2-seater my car or your car. We go down the road. Could be Port and could be Mystic. This time it was Newport, Rhode Island, it can be Plymouth. The point here is that Gloucester has never spoken up as America's oldest fishing port, how its core identity and its economic engine has been damaged by these thoughtless regulations. It's federal codes, not my personal hobby horse. I'm the only one who mentions it, but I think community development, economic development folks should be joining us. So whenever you get 5 minutes each, times 2, times 3, Gloucester might make an impact, number one. Number two, somebody asked me, what could the council do? Because I keep coming here. Well, we've got 4 committees on the council. You've got the key ones, I think, is budget and finance. How does the money get spent on the harbor plans? How effective is that when the harbor plan clearly has dropped the ball on those federal regulations? There's federal rules. We can't just ignore those and pretend, whatever. Ordinances administration. How will the harbor be zoned in the future? You have a role to play in that, to help the administration to get things representing your ward, to get down the pike in a constructive, forward-leaning perspective. Another 40 years at least, if not another 400. Planning and development, certainly. How do we plan the future? So I would propose to you folks to consider what we can all do together. You don't want to be represented by me. I'm not to represent for Gloucester before the council, except they get my language. They see our work going back to March of 2003, 20 some years now. National Fisherman 2004. We had a chance to speak. I think we should all speak together because we got things to lose here. Things are being lost. And we have a hard time explaining this to the next generations. Thank you for your open mind. Happy New Year to all of you, whatever you do over the holidays. Maybe the new council will be more energetic in defending this fishing port for the 401st day. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address, and you have 3 minutes to speak to us. Thank you.
Saltanat Berzikeva, 33 Middle Street in Gloucester. Just this past Saturday, a beautiful annual tradition of Middle Street Walk took place in Gloucester. It was a full-day event celebrating our historic district, the Middle Street, or as organizers call it, where the past meets present because of the history and architecture of homes, institutions, churches, museums, and the temple. The history of Gloucester is literally located there. That level of care and pride in our city's history and architecture by Middle Street Walk organizers stands in opposition to what is about to happen to our historic district if the 20 Main Street development project goes ahead next year. That development is completely incongruous with the historic look and aesthetics of the area. Moreover, residents and businesses of Middle Street and Main Street worry about the impact of the 20 Main Street development on their homes, businesses, and their quality of life. Our house's structural integrity and value will be impacted greatly, and I'm talking about my house, and as well as those of other abutters near us. Nobody at the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Historic District Commission tried enough to notify us that they were approving the 20 Main Street development merely 8 inches away from the retaining wall that holds up our property. Even the journalist at the Gloucester Daily Times told me personally he was completely blindsided by the 20 Main Street development and learned about it only this August by accident. Another 20 Main Street abutter participated in one of the ZBA meetings this spring and could not unmute herself to speak. It's all in the minutes. It's all reflected in the minutes of the meeting, and you can look that up yourselves. She went back out of the, she left the Zoom meeting, logged back in, and still could not speak. The ZBA meeting organizers did not include her input before it made a decision as a result. We demand that any future review of the 20 Main Street development by the City Council takes this main point into consideration. The project's approval so far was done in an undemocratic way without proper notices and participation of all abutters and neighbors and everyone else involved. Otherwise, there would have been a groundswell of public opposition to the project from the start, as it was reflected in the petition with 200 signatures to stop the development. Our house was built in 1853. It is a beautiful historic Italianate house, and my family is putting every effort to bring it back to its full glory. We want to preserve the historic look, but we're afraid that the city the city of Gloucester does not share the same values. I hope the city council does share if it approves that
10
development.
seconds.
But the 20 Main Street project will not solve the housing crisis, but a grotesque and massive building that aims to squeeze itself into the crowded area will sure damage our home's value, harm its structural integrity, ruin the historic district's character and view, and worsen the neighborhood's traffic pollution and overall quality of life. We ask you kindly to stop this project when it will come to your agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order,
Anyone else here?
point of order.
What is the process that you are calling a point of order on, Council O'Neill?
Yes, I'm asking the constituent Sultanat Bagdiva to give her letter to the city clerk so that the letter becomes part of the record. Can you do that, Sultanat?
Would you do that? Thank you.
That way it becomes part of the record.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Counselor. Anyone else in this room like to speak? And then we have 2 hands for folks that are on Zoom, but our process is to first begin with the folks that are here. So name and address and welcome. Thank you.
Joni Aldrich, 16 Bellevue Avenue. It's the holiday season and it's a time not only for celebrations, but also of resolutions. As a resident of Gloucester, I ask that we as a city reflect on these resolutions for the new year. May we look at our individual circumstances and think of others in our community and how our actions may affect them. I'm thinking of the 20 Main Street project and the effect it will have on our Middle Street neighbors. Will it negatively impact their property value? Will it affect their safety? Will it negatively impact the reasons that these neighbors came to our city to invest in their home? It's their view and their beauty of their home. When we ask them to participate in a community activity like the Middle Street Walk, are we in turn respecting them as members of our community? May we also look at our plans of development from all sides of the issue, not just from the point of view of developers, tax revenue, or profits. I'm thinking of the Upper Banjo project and the effects it will have on our common life, the safety of our water source, the displacement of wildlife, and the scarring of our beautiful vistas. May we shift our thinking towards the future rather than short-sightedness. I'm thinking of the implications of all the development and perhaps overdevelopment on our infrastructure. Do we have the water supply to support these additions? As the climate changes and we experience droughts like the one 2 years ago, what will our solutions be? Rather than dealing with it as it comes, let's think of it now and talk about whether these developments are worth the price we will pay in the future. As we are experiencing as a nation, whether laws and rules apply to everyone, or if the well-connected, powerful, and wealthy are exempt. Let's ask ourselves that question locally. Do permits and their regulations apply to everyone equally? Or are only the well-connected, the powerful, and the wealthy deserving of special permits and the benefits only to them? Finally, may we define what exactly is affordable housing in Gloucester? Affordability to whom is actually the question. With the price of building materials, decent wages for the workers, and the hope of making a profit, whether flipping a property or developing a new one, what is affordable and to whom? Are we unintentionally or is it intentional that we are choosing who lives in our community? Are we a city of diversity where a working class family can raise their children in a home, in their own home, alongside someone of higher means? Or are we to become a homogenized city where only the wealthy can live and where all who earn their wages in the service industries are forced to live outside the city that they work?
I have hopes this new year will be one of coming together and planning the future and respect to all of those and to our environment, and that we do it all together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving us your speech. Appreciate you being here. And we have two folks that have hands raised virtually. One is Linda McCarriston. We could bring her in, Madam Clerk. Linda, oh, that's first Marianne. Okay, Marianne Boucher, would you introduce yourself and your address? And you have up to 3 minutes to speak to us for matters not on the agenda. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, all. On November 14th, nearly 1 month ago, I spoke during oral communications regarding the Good Harbor Beach Creek contamination. I received a letter from the mayor's office stating, and I quote, "We have continued to work internally to investigate the Good Harbor Beach Creek contamination and will share more information in the coming weeks on work that has taken place since the public presentation earlier this year. I would like to remind the council that the consultant finished their work 1 year ago, November, and it was not presented to the public until January 2023. That's 11 months ago. I will ask our ward councilor, Scott Memhard, and the entire council to pursue answers for the general public. We need to get to the bottom of this. Spring will be right around the corner. Also, on another note, do you consider the Lieutenant Arthur Maxwell Parsons Playground behind the East Gloucester Elementary School a city-owned, deed-restricted site? If so, why are people helping themselves to the memorial bricks that were donated to the playground? The school property is not a part of the deeded playground. I would like to request that the remaining bricks be protected and that they be, and the memorials of these bricks be respected. During the school, the East Gloucester School Day event that they had where people could go in and take what they wanted, which was great. Someone came forward and said to me, "I've removed your brick from the playground and I will put it on your stairs." And I asked why it was removed. I asked General Counsel while I was there, because she was there, why the bricks are being removed from the playground, which is not school property, but city property. General Counsel stated that they did not want to get into the issue there. So I'm asking for probably the 10th time that these bricks be protected, preserved, to use in the new playground or whatever you decide to put there, but they be protected. Many of those bricks are memorial bricks of people that have passed away. And I think it's very disrespectful for people just suddenly to go in and dismantle this entire space. I
10
really,
seconds.
I really would like an answer from the city council, from the mayor, from general counsel, from someone as to what's going to happen with those bricks. One was placed on my stairs. I have it, and I'm really disappointed that it was removed. I feel like it was stolen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next hand raised is Linda McCarriston.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you, Linda. Name and address.
Well, great, thank you. Yeah, this whole different screen and whole different setup than I've ever seen before. I was confused. Linda McCarriston, Quarry Street. Perhaps linking some of the last things that were said. I believe Gloucester needs more freedom of the press, more freedom of speech, and more freedom of thought. Peter Dolan's recent disturbing letter to the editor made clear that this city's intellectual xenophobia equates democracy with one-party rule. I came across something today that reminded me of that fear, and I'm going to read it. It's called Youville, Y-O-U-ville, just published in the Manhattan Review. I will post it on Facebook. I timed all this to be less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Youville. Have you noticed we don't answer questions here? Questions are isolated, neutralized, abandoned. Questions must be kept apart from other questions. What if they all got together? They could start asking and asking, and then can you imagine? If your mind were a town, where would you live? So that's how deeply we've taken it all inside. The questions closest to us have softened to pastel versions. They timidly raise a hand, then change their minds, sit back, and bow their heads to stare at their trembling hands and bitten fingernails. If your mind were a town, would you stay there? Unanswered questions are not the worst thing. Do we think the ruins around us are not questions? Do we think a question can go unasked forever? On the PA, leave your questions and belongings. I repeat, leave your longings and belongings and evacuate. If your mind were a town, where could you go? This is by Richard Hoffman, a poet presently living in Salem. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else? Seeing none. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Confirmation of new appointments.
I will ask Councilor Nolan to walk us through confirmation of new appointments.
Thank you. On new appointments, we have the Open Space and Recreation Advisory Committee, Kate Parsons. How you doing tonight? Kate, do you want to come to the podium? I'm sorry to hold you up for some important accommodations and things that we need to do for the city. If you could tell yourself a little bit about yourself to the rest of the council, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. It is late, but I appreciate the smaller audience than earlier. Stressful. Hi, everybody. My name's Kate Parsons. I live at 11 Highland Street here in Gloucester. I have used the open spaces of the North Shore for probably 14, 15 years. I think during the pandemic, like most people, I came to see them more as the community resource that they are, and really how important they are to a community. I've also recently become involved with the North Shore Invasives Task Force, and so removing invasive plants from public spaces, which has given me yet another angle on open spaces and how important they are, their health. And I attended an open space and recreation committee meeting in October, and they seemed to need some help. And so I thought this was just a good kind of confluence of my interest. I've done some volunteer work with plants and, like I mentioned, invasives, and I thought I might be of use.
Excellent. Thank you. With that being said, I'm going to read the motion, then we'll ask if there's any council questions. On a motion by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor Nolan, the Ordinance Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appoint Kate Parsons to fill in the unexpired term to the Open Space and Recreation Committee, term to end 2/15/24, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's made by Councilor Nolan, seconded by Councilor Majota. Is there a discussion? Councilors?
First, thank you, Kate. My question isn't about your candidacy. I'm glad that you're serving. Grateful. It's December 12th, 2023. We're appointing someone for a term to expire in
It's
February.
fulfilling an unexpired term.
Right. So she'll get 1 or 2 meetings. Does she get the chance to continue that service? Is that a decision they make separately from this appointment? We can't just continue her through, so, okay. Sorry, just a procedural question. Thank you again for your service.
Better make it good next couple of weeks.
I know. Right? How much effect can I have?
Any further discussion, counselors?
I will say, Kate, that when the re-up comes, you don't have to come before us because you'll be known. So we can skip a lot of this procedure, but it is procedure that you fulfill on an unexpired term. And we really appreciate it too, especially with the invasive species you work with. That's really important for an island. So a lot of people will learn a lot more about that. But when it does come up again, it's a lot less. It's more of a, you want it, we're going to give it to you, give you your time.
Great, thank you.
Council Grow.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Councilor Nolan. I'm very interested in the invasive species work that you're doing as well. And I think there's a lot of area in the city that has been invaded by species that aren't supposed to be here. Like phragmites, green crabs. But no, the bumblebees are fine. Yes. Anyway, thank you very much for your service. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, counselors? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Nolan.
Yes, thank you very much.
Council O'Hara.
Yes.
Council O'Neill. Council O'Neill.
Yes, yes.
Council Worthley.
Definitely, yes, thank you.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross.
Yes.
Council Grow.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Council Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it. 9.
Hey, hey,
0.
hey, hey.
Oh, what did I forget? Oh, Scott. I'm
He
sorry.
votes yes.
Memhard.
Word.
Terrible.
I also approve. but I
Memhard,
just-
please, what is your vote? I can't believe I missed you.
Yeah, I'm really excited by her enthusiasm about attacking our invasive species also, because that's actually a serious job. So my enthusiastic yes, you're welcome.
Yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Welcome on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And when I start a new invasives volunteer group, I'll be emailing all of you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Consent agenda.
Councils, would anyone like to remove any matter off the consent agenda? Council Grow.
Number 1 under councilor's orders.
Council 1, under Councilor orders, okay. Anything else, councilors? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
With the exception of item 1. It was moved by Council Gross, seconded by Council Worthley. All those, roll call vote. Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes,
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yep.
Council Majota.
Yes.
Council Memard.
Yes.
The yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Now we are back to item number 1, council order. City Council 2023-058 Memhard, amend GCO Chapter 22, Section 22-285, parking of trucks, trailer trucks, and other commercial vehicles, subsection D, Section 22-270, parking prohibited at all times, and Section 22-291, tow-away zone regarding Parker Street to be referred to ONA and Traffic Commission. Counselor.
Yeah, I have no objection to the order itself. I'm going to ask as a favor on this motion and also moving forward that when we have traffic and parking regulation changes that we have along with the language of the order itself, we have a map and delineations of the area so that we have something to look at as opposed to just the footage and yardage that comes with these motions. We had that with the Washington Street intersection, and we had to, it would be great if we were all working off the same set of numbers and same set of measurements as we go into the process.
That's a very good suggestion. So let's just keep that in mind, counselors.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question?
Sure.
I think you're right. Who provides that map? The city councilor that's introducing the order? Is there a place that would go to get that? Is it GIS maps? What would be the way to do that so that it's?
I think if I can answer,
Please.
I think we have the tools to do a pretty good map, if not necessarily exact map, through the GIS system and the map geo. We can do measurements and outlines. I mean, we can probably ask for help with that, but I think for most of these things, a generalized area with an indication of what intersections we're looking at, what streets we're looking at, where the proposals are taking place. I think just to give us a visual understanding of the thing as opposed to just a set of numbers.
I agree. I just think figuring out how to do that. Thank you.
A motion to refer Council Order CC 2023-058. Motion was made by me and seconded by Council Nolan. Roll call vote. Council Nolan.
Yes.
Council O'Hara.
Yes.
Council O'Neill.
Yes.
Council Worthley.
Yes.
Council Gilman. Yes. Council Gross.
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
And Council Memard.
Yes, and I appreciate Councilor Grove's good point.
Motion passes 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Unanimous consent calendar.
We have a one item unanimous consent agenda, memorandum from General Counsel regarding grant of easement to National Grid on Main Street 195. And that is to refer it to P and D. Is there a motion
So
to
moved.
approve? Moved
Second.
by Council Grow, seconded by, who just said that?
Councilor Memhard?
Council Memard.
Can't hear you tonight.
Is there a discuss?
Is he even here?
Stop. Is there a motion? I mean, is there a discussion? Seeing none on the referral. Council Nolan.
Yes.
Council O'Hara.
Yes.
Council O'Neill.
Yes.
Council Worthley.
Yes.
Council Gilman. Yes. Council Gross.
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
Council Majota. Council Memard.
Yes.
Motion passes 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The Budget and Finance Standing Committee report from December 7th.
And we're going to ask our BNF Chair, Council Memard, to lead us through unanimous consent calendar. Councilors, just a reminder that Councilor Memard will read just the one sentence matter that this entails. And if any council wishes to remove one of those to pull that off from the unanimous consent agenda, we will be able to do that. Council Memard, the
Yes.
unanimous consent agenda is yours to lead.
Thank you. And I would also like to thank last Thursday, Councilor Gross had been beaten up by his therapist and needed to take the night off, and Councilor Gilman stood in so that the Budget and Finance Committee was myself, Councilor Worthley, and Councilor Gilman. And I'm glad to hear Tony's feeling better tonight. We had 10 items that we have before you here, so that's one reason, other than the other already full agenda, to do it as a consent agenda. Most of them are fairly routine. The first, number 1, is a memorandum from the city clerk, 2024 SBT 3 in the amount of $15,720.24. And a second part of the same item, 2024 SBT 4 in the amount of $657.48. And both are related to police details organized by the clerk's office for the November 7th, 2023 election. The next item is a memorandum from the city clerk, 2024 SBT 5 in the amount of $1,440.35 regarding custodial overtime for the November 19th, 2023 primary and the November 7th, 2023 municipal election. The next item was a memorandum from our police chief requesting acceptance of a fiscal year 2024 state 911 training grant. And this is a repeating item. And this year our grant amount is the amount of $114,161.93. The next item was a memorandum from the police chief requesting acceptance of a fiscal year 24 municipal road safety grant in the amount of $40,000, providing funding for traffic enforcement and road safety. The next item, item number 5, was a memorandum from the fire chief requesting our acceptance of Cape Ann Community Wildfire Protection Plan funding in the amount of $131,000. And this is something that we're coordinating with our surrounding communities of Rockport, Essex, and Manchester for a Cape Ann Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Number 6 is a memorandum from the purchasing agent for a review and recommendations for the disposition of real property for the Good Harbor Beach and Winkershik Beach concession lease. These leases come up for every 3 years, so we're now bidding, we're putting them out to bid, both Winkershik and Good Harbor, for the concession stands. Number 7 is a memorandum from our community development director requesting our acceptance of the community planning grant for 3A multifamily zoning technical assistance, and this is in the amount of $75,000. Number 8 is a memorandum from Elise Sinagro, our director of elder services, requesting acceptance of a fiscal year 2024 Title 3B Older Americans grant in the amount of $19,000. Number 9 is a memorandum from the CFO and a 2024 SA number 4 in the amount of $1,100,000 and 2024 SA 5 in the amount of $550,000. And both of these are for funding various identified DPW capital projects, which are detailed below, including playgrounds, soil remediation, the Bond Hill tank waterproofing project, our beaches, the Veterans Office, the Fitzhenry Lane House, and the Public Works Campus Facility. And item number 10, again, was a memorandum from our Veterans Services Director requesting acceptance of donations in the amount of $4,310. And that is the summary. If anyone would like to pull any of those off, we can go into other detail. Otherwise, I request acceptance of.
Councilors, would
all the
anyone
above
like to
motions.
remove one of these matters? Seeing none, Council O'Neill.
Thank you. I'd like to remove number 7.
Anyone else? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the unanimous consent agenda with the
moved.
exception of number 7? Moved by Council
Second.
Grow, seconded by Council
Memhard?
Memhard. Roll call vote. Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara. Council
Yes.
O'Hara. Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yep.
Council Majota.
Yes.
Council Memhard.
Yes.
Yeses pass, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. I do want to mention that Jill Cahill, our CAO, is on the call. She's been on for about a half an hour. So thank you. And so now we're going to go back to item number 7, and this means that we'd like to hear from Councilor O'Neill, and then we'll allow this to be made as a vote in discussion. So Council O'Neill, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I know I'll be alone in this, but I've looked at the grant for $75,000, and it is showing us how to be in compliance. And I think we already know how to be in compliance. So I really think it's a waste of money. And I know it's quote unquote free money, but yet I pay state taxes. So I just think it's a waste of money. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Grow.
I just want to strenuously object to the idea that this is unnecessary and free money. this process is going to be incredibly challenging for the city council, for the planning board to not consider accepting a grant where we get technical assistance from an expert in helping us determine whether or not our plans, the plans that the city council and the planning board and the administration come together to present as compliance is in fact can compliance and can guide us through scenarios that will give us options and opportunities to take into account community support and throughout the process is foolhardy, frankly. And I absolutely beg the city council to vote for this technical assistance. We are going to need it. We would be foolish to turn our backs on it. And it is going to be absolutely critical to the success or failure of our efforts for the next year.
So what I'd like to do is
O'Neill has her hand
just,
up.
hold on a sec. I would like to suspend the rules of procedure because under Agenda Procedure Rule 3, any addendum or other matter filed after the closing time noted shall be listed on a unanimous consent calendar and shall be considered at said council meeting provided that no member objects. No, this was just a unanimous consent on the BNF.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is okay. Yeah, so we are okay there. So Councilor O'Neill, you have, so I think what we need to do right now is we
Read the
probably need to
motion.
get a motion on the floor before we discuss it. So Councilor Memard has his hand raised. Why don't you make the motion, Councilor Memard, out of subcommittee, and then we'll further discuss it.
I would like to make the motion, please, as Budget and Finance Chair, and I would also like to provide a brief narrative to provide some background for Councilor O'Neill's question. But on the matter, on a motion by myself, Councilor Memhard, seconded by Councilor Worthley, Budget and Finance Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council accept under Mass General Law 4453A a state grant from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, the Executive Office of Economic Development, and the Massachusetts Development Finance Agency of a fiscal year 2024 Community One Stop for Growth and Community Planning grant program in the amount of $75,000 for the specific purpose of providing community planning technical assistance. There is no local match for this grant. It was presented to us by David Fields, our Community Development Director, and CAO Jill Cahill, and I'd just like to express appreciation for David and his effort to secure this funding and identify a source that provided funding specific to this particular opportunity, and it allows him some discretion in terms of who he selects as that consultant.
So, Councilor Memard, so let's make the motion, and then we'll
And I so
ask for
move.
the.
Second.
Okay, motion's made by Councilor Memard, seconded by Councilor Worthley. Now continue with the narrative, the committee report. Go ahead,
I
Councilor
think I've gotten it all out.
Memard.
You weren't fast enough.
Yeah, it was a little slow, sorry. Further discussion, councilors, on the motion. Councilor Marjota.
To say that it's a waste of money and we all pay taxes, yes, we will always pay taxes, but the $75,000 could go to a different town or city that could use that grant money, and to lose that money to help us, guide us, the Council Grove said, is not a waste of money. Thank you.
Councilor O'Neill had her hand raised. Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you. So this grant is from the EOHED, who is the writer of the 48-3A. So it is my view that they are biased. In other words, they're not a nonpartisan. They're not a, I'm sorry, I can't find the word right now. They have an interest in forcing this on us. They have an interest in telling us how good it is for us. They have an interest in getting this done for the good of the state of Massachusetts, the MBTA, the EOHED, and the EOH of livable communities. They are the ones that are giving us the money. They are the ones who wrote the so-called law. It's just all one-sided. There's no other side to this.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the motion? Counselor Rowe and then Counselor Worthley.
Just want to clarify, and with respect to my colleague, it's probably not the first time that an understanding of the situation, the issues, has been not particularly well held. The application is the grant is for an independent person to come in, firm consultant come in and advise us on our needs. It is not a person who is under any state jurisdiction. In fact, there's been a great effort to focus on firms and consultants outside of the state framework of the MAPC, et cetera, so that there is not a sense of bias towards this process. But regardless, the consultant will work for the city of Gloucester. That's who is paying the bill. That is who is requesting the assistance. It is not being, while we maybe get the money from the state, the final application of that person's work will be towards the benefit of Gloucester. And at the end of the day, we have the ability and the right to accept or reject whatever consultation that person provides us. But to go without it, again, as I repeat, would be foolish.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Worthley.
Yes, thank you. I asked some of these questions at Budget and Finance Committee, and I share Counselor Neal's, I at least understand her concern. So zoning is challenging. This new law is challenging. Our planning department is challenged as it is with just the day-to-day work that they do. They're also doing the comprehensive planning initiative, and it's a lot to ask of them to be our experts. As we went through the zoning changes proposed last year, there were lots of questions, and it became a challenge for all of us to try to answer them. And I think that what this person should be able to do is provide us with a technical assistance. And I think receipt of the grant doesn't, as Councilor Groh mentioned, doesn't mean that we're beholden to the results. It means that we have the money to spend to hire a professional whose job it is. And I asked the question at Budget and Finance if this person would be available to the council, and Community Development Director David Fields said yes. And also, it's likely that the pool of people that they would be asking to apply for this position would come from the communities, come from the pool of people who've done some work on the other communities. For example, the rapid transit cities with subways have had to comply by the end of this year. And so they've been ahead of us. And it's likely that we have some, and they've also experienced some challenges with their town selectmen and their city councils being able to do this. So they've come to the conclusion that money for technical assistance would be helpful. So I'll be voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to note that Greg Catamatori is on the call. He's our planning director. So I'd like to speak to this, and then Councilor O'Neill has her hand raised. So I'm going to be supporting this. I believe that this is an important independent voice to help guide us through questions that we might have. And I think having been in BNF that day, when we brought this up, I thought we asked significant questions. And I know the councilors all had the opportunity to read the draft minutes, which were available to review today if you had not been either on that Zoom call or listening, or had an opportunity to read the minutes. Any further counselors that have not spoken?
Madam President, I'd like to call for the vote.
Excuse me, point of order. I should be able to reply to my colleague.
So there's a point of order right now on the process that Councilor O'Neill feels like she has an opportunity to respond to Councilor Groh. Are you okay with that? Okay. So the floor is yours, Councilor O'Neill.
Wow, you have to ask him if it's okay with him that I reply to him? Wow. Thank you very much, Councilor
Councilor
Groh.
O'Neill, I just gave you the permission procedurally, so thank you.
Yes, understood. Councilor Groh, I don't think it's foolish ever to question who is speaking and teaching us supposedly about what the state wants us to do. The state is giving this grant, and the state, if you hire a contractor to, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. If I hire a contractor, he's going to tell me something else. So if the state hires a consultant, they're going to say what the state wants them to say. When you pay someone, that's what they say. They're going to find the findings that you pay them to find. I just think it's, I just don't agree with it. That's all. And I really don't appreciate being called foolish.
So the motion's been made, it's been seconded. Any further discussion, councilors? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Nolan. No. The committee report was
So-
to support what
Yes.
came out of BNF. Two in
Yes.
favor, one. Go ahead. Council Nolan is a yes. Council O'Hara.
No.
Council O'Neill.
No.
Council Worthley.
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross.
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
Council Memard.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 7 in favor, 2 opposed. Council O'Neill and Council O'Hara. Thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The December 4th Ordinances and Administration Standing Committee report.
O&A, go ahead, I'm sorry, I was,
The O&A Standing Committee report from December 4th.
okay. Counselor Nolan,
There was no standing committee reports.
thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The December 6th Planning and Development Standing Committee report.
And I would like to ask P&D Chair, Council Grow, to walk us through this. And I would also like to announce that Chris Lapointe from Greenbelt has been patiently waiting for a relatively long meeting. So thank you, Chris. And I'll turn control of the meeting over to Council Grow.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This is regarding a memorandum from the Planning Director regarding the West Gloucester De Normandy Long Hill Project and Landscape Partnership Grant. You don't want me to read the motion yet? We want a little narrative on what we're going to read the motion? Okay.
Sure, that's-
On a motion, Councilor Grow, seconded by Councilor Gilman, the Planning and Development voted 2 in favor, 1 opposed. O'Neill, to recommend that the City Council supports negotiation, acquisition, and recording of a conservation restriction to be held by a Gloucester Conservation Commission for conservation and passive recreation purposes over 178 plus or minus acres of land in Gloucester described as 200R Magnolia, Assessor's Map 197, Lot 5, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's made by Council Grow, seconded by Council Worthley. Is there a narrative, Council
Yeah,
Grow?
this is a little confusing, but not really. The Essex County Greenbelt has applied for and received a grant of $1.25 million to be applied towards the purchase of this fairly large parcel of land in West Gloucester and Magnolia. That grant is contingent on the City of Gloucester agreeing through the City Council to accept the conservation easement and the I'm going to use the right word. It's not possession of, but we will take control of the conservation easement and essentially oversee that easement for eternity. The overall price of the property, which is privately held, this is a private transaction between the Normandy family, I suppose, and Essex County Greenbelt. The only obligation that is being asked of the city at this point is the acceptance and the overseeing of the conservation easement that calls for permanent conservation of land and passive recreation. I would really, it'd be, I think, far better to hear from both Chris Lapointe, who's the Essex County Greenbelt representative, and Greg Cadamatore, the planning director, for specific issues. But basically tonight, we are just voting on whether or not we will agree to accept the easement that's negotiated moving forward so that the grant can be accepted by Essex County Greenbelt. They still need to find the remaining funds for the purchase of the land. But there's nothing more being asked of the city at this point.
Thank you, Counselor. Either Greg Cadamatore or Chris Lapointe, would you like to elaborate on what Councilor Grow has articulated? Chris Lapointe, would you introduce yourself and your address? That would be great. Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. Chris Lapointe. I'm Vice President of Conservation Operations with Essex County Greenbelt Association. Thank you for time on the agenda this evening. Just to add a little bit of an overview, as was described, Greenbelt is working on a landscape scale project involving acreage in Manchester and acreage in Gloucester. And as was described, we were the recipients of a $1.25 million landscape partnership grant from the Commonwealth to go towards the acquisition and permanent protection of the acreage in Manchester and in Gloucester. The plan is to move forward, acquire the land from its current private owner, for Essex County Greenbelt to own and manage the land, much as we do other properties that you might know, permanent conservation, public access for passive recreation. The land will be permanently protected both by Greenbelt mission, by the terms of the state grant, and by the fact that we will be, as is the subject of the matter this evening, conveying a permanent conservation restriction to the city of Gloucester. So we're very excited for the opportunity. It's an incredibly important area, incredibly important piece of land adjacent to city watershed land, existing trail system that is a great resource for the public, rare species habitat. It has a lot going for it from a natural resource standpoint. So I'm happy to answer any questions and appreciate the time and hope for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Greg, as planning director, Greg Cadamatore, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Good evening, Greg Cadamatore, planning director. The only thing I would add in the process, again, this was an application that was filed quite some time ago and was only announced this past late fall. Since that time, the application and the project was also presented to the Conservation Commission, who unanimously supported the acquiring a conservation restriction over the property. As was discussed at the P&D meeting, this is a good opportunity for the city to have a stake in this property. Many properties are owned in conservation and the city doesn't really play any role. This is a situation where we have the ability to negotiate and help define the terms for the uses that are permitted on the property. And I will also note that this piece is also surrounded by, and also there's some properties actually immediately adjacent or even included in the area that were taken in the past for watershed protection. So this area has a lot of interest as conservation interest, as Chris has pointed out. There's rare and endangered species habitat. It's part of a very large area of forested land that is critical to the protection of the public water supply as well. So very little investment for the city other than holding that conservation restriction, but a great acquisition for conservation in the area.
Thank you, Greg. Any further discussion, councilors? Council Worthley.
Can we ask questions? Sure. As a part of our process. Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Just a couple of questions, and I don't know who would answer this, so I'll just throw it out and we'll go from there, I guess. Greg, you mentioned that the city's stake in the property. What is the city's, oh, actually, hang on. Who will own the property once the negotiation is all settled? Who will own it?
It would be owned by Essex County Greenbelt, and the city would have an interest in that property by being the holder of a conservation restriction.
And is that in perpetuity?
It would be, yes.
Who oversees that? Is that something the council would oversee, or the Conservation Commission, or Essex Greenbelt?
Conservation Commission would be the designee as the holder of the CR.
You said that one of the stakes, if you will, is that we get to determine the terms of the use of the property. It seems to me that the terms would be pretty clear: open space, conservation land. But does that leave, and I'm not asking that we have it, but does that leave room for future councils or planning boards or conservation commissions to alter that terms of use?
It would be all the uses that are permitted would be documented in that conservation restriction that would be recorded against the property. So it is not something that's a revisit. It is in perpetuity as to the uses that and activities that would be allowed.
Is that document already written?
There is a model that's always available. It has not been negotiated yet. This is a unusual step in this particular grant process where the state has asked for this kind of precursor step of one of the communities that's signed on as a partner in the project to identify that yes, they will in fact move forward with a conservation restriction once it's presented to them. But again, that final review and the terms of it are something that we would review in the future.
Would the council review, if I may, would the council review that as well?
Yes,
And we'll have a second vote on accepting the final version of it, I'm presuming?
absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Council, can we see if other people are
Sure.
ready to participate? Anyone else that hasn't spoken on this, either a question or discussion? Council Nolan.
This is a question for Greg, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer. That area of property, I believe there was some thoughts of the EDIC in expansion of industrial areas. Is this something that's been brought forward with the EDIC? Have they closed their ideas on expanding the industrial park at Condon Road through that area? Or is this totally separate from that?
I did have some consultation with the EDIC chair. I don't know that they're continuing to pursue that. As you know, that was, I believe that I can't remember how many years back that there was kind of an initial concept study that would have involved likely the need for a new interchange on 128, which would be pretty significant. I think at the time there was a lot of concern from the public, from those that are involved in operating our public water supply in Gloucester, because as you know, a lot of that land is tributary to the reservoirs that are the supply for our public water supply. So I think that with this acquisition, again, any way you look at it, if they were looking to pursue that, this piece of land would have been critical to that project as well. And the landowner has chosen to pursue a conservation route.
Excellent. Thank you, Greg. I'm quite happy with the conservation route.
Anyone else that hasn't spoken on this? Councillor Memard.
Thank you. Can you hear me? My question was along the lines of what Councillor Nolan just raised. I've been looking at the map. I do recall the discussion that the EDIC floated regarding expansion of the Condon Road Industrial Park. The city does own a number of parcels already. Again, they're surrounding several of our watersheds, Lily's Pond, Dykes Meadow. If you look at the topography in the map, I think it was determined that it was a real challenge to develop between Route 128, the railway line, and then the existing Condon Road Industrial Park. So I think the De Normandy Family Trust has really taken that prospective industrial park expansion, which could have been important for Gloucester's future, but I think that's been taken off the table, which would leave this pending conservation restriction as being a good thing, I think, for the long term for that land. It's already quite complicated, and this will just help clarify it for the long term.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill has her hand raised.
Thank you. I guess this is a question for Greg. As the owner, Essex County Greenbelt will own the bundle of rights. Is that correct?
I think we had some discussion at this at the P and D level.
Yep.
They would be the fee owner of the property, and certain rights that would go along with that fee ownership would be extinguished by using it for conservation, as well as securing a conservation restriction over the property.
So it would be extinguished by the conservation restriction that is written by the city of Gloucester?
It will be drafted and be considered by both Essex County Greenbelt, the city of Gloucester, as well as the state has to approve the conservation restriction. And I think Chris Lapointe has also pointed out the terms of the grant acceptance, the funding that will go towards the acquisition also require that the property be only used for conservation purposes. So the development right aspects of it are extinguished.
Right, but what about the other rights of the bundle of rights, like the air? Isn't there a right of air?
I think I'll defer to Chris because I think he had a nice eloquent description of this aspect of your question.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
I think, Counselor, that there are a great number of rights in the bundle of sticks, as we talked about. The conservation restriction that the city will hold will extinguish most of them. So not to get too specific, but our right to construct a tennis court, our right to construct a swimming pool, our right to erect a wind turbine, those will be extinguished. The right to build houses and landing strips, those are all parts of the bundle of sticks. Those will be extinguished by both the terms of the grant from the state and the restriction that the city of Gloucester will hold forever. So
Okay, that's not what I'm really asking. The developable rights and other rights can be transferred to another body. Is that correct? Like you could transfer the developable rights to Tracy O'Neill Construction Company or Tracy O'Neill Properties. You could transfer those developable rights. Is that correct? Those are transferable and sellable, correct?
that's not what's being contemplated here. They're being extinguished by the use of the state grant and by this conservation restriction held by the city. There are jurisdictions in the world where development rights can be transferred. This is not one in which that's being contemplated.
Right, but the restrictions you were talking about, you said you couldn't build a swimming pool, you couldn't build a tennis court. That's not what I was talking about at all. Right?
I'm happy to answer the question that you're asking. If you'd like to restate it, I apologize if I misunderstood. But essentially what I'm saying is the development rights on that property will be extinguished and will be enforced by the city of Gloucester. So I'm coming to you all in a public meeting and stating the intent of the project is to purchase the land for permanent protection, with the city of Gloucester having a forever enforcement right against Essex County Greenbelt to make sure that we don't develop the property. And I hope that's as clear as it possibly can be to anyone who's listening, that that's the intent of the effort.
Counselor, I'd like to, we need to keep this moving. So I would like to make a comment on this, because I have to say that in that P&D meeting, we spent a long time vetting all of these questions. We vetted 25 questions at a level of specific detail. And we have a phenomenal set of minutes that are about 5 pages long with all of these questions answered. The question that was most compelling to me, and I will state this because it seems like not everybody has read all the questions again, is asked if there is a downside to the acceptance of this grant, and if there are any conditions attached to the acceptance of the grant. And the answer from Chris Lapointe was He stated that the grant is coming to Greenbelt, not the city, and that the requirements of the grant are that the land be permanently protected and that it be open to the public. And I mean, that in itself was absolutely important to hear, and I was absolutely clear on the answer, and so I will be supporting this. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this motion? Council Worthley.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple last questions. I'm encouraged by these answers and will be supporting it, but I just have a couple last questions, if I may. This question is for Greg or for Chris. Who would be liable for anything that happens on the properties, Greenbelt or the city of Gloucester?
So Greenbelt, as the owner of the property, would be liable for anything that happens on the property. We generally are protected by the recreational use statute. We don't charge for access or entry to our properties, but the city, as the conservation restriction holder, does not have exposure to, any liability on the property if someone has a slip and fall or, trips on a rock. Certainly if Greg wants to add to that, but that's the structure with Greenbelt as the owner. Anything out there would stick to us.
Thank you. You don't have to add to it if you don't want to, but if you want to.
Nothing to add.
Okay. My last question on this. We just voted in our budget and finance minutes for acceptance of reimbursement grants, et cetera, for fire department in cooperation with Essex, Manchester, and Rockport to look at fire trails and things like that. Does Greenbelt have a methodology to look at, there has to be some sort of path in for vehicles. If there's a fire there, it could be a fire in Manchester that extends into Gloucester. Is there some methodology for maintenance of trails or anything like that? Fire trails, I'm sorry.
I think we'd be happy to look at it with the relevant parties. I would just say, the property is has a number of woods roads that I know come in from the Manchester side that provide the most likely practical access. The access on the Gloucester side is, Woods Road off of the end of Magnolia Avenue and then single track trails. So I think that, there is some reasonable access that vehicles could use in an emergency situation, but I think it's a great question. It's the right question, and would be happy to look at it with whatever the group of folks is that would be best equipped to assess that.
I'd like to encourage you to consult with our fire chief, Eric Smith, as he just pulled this report together, or they're pulling this report together now. So it might be timely to include this property in that discovery. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Any further discussion, councilors? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota,
Yes.
Council Memard.
Yes.
Yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider.
Second.
Reconsider made by Council Grow, seconded by Council Memard. Motion to reconsider, Council Nolan,
No.
Council O'Hara,
No.
Council O'Neill,
No.
Council Worthley,
No.
Council Gilman, no. Council Gross,
No.
Council Grow.
Nope.
Council Majota,
No.
Council Memard.
No.
Motion to reconsider fails, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next order of business. By
Thank
the
you,
way,
councilors.
Chris, thank you. Long night for you. Greg Catamatori, Jill, thank you for being
Thank you.
here. Appreciate
Have a good night.
Night. Next order of business.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Public hearing 2023 051, amend GCO Chapter 21, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, Article 1 in general, Section 21-1, prerequisites to acceptance of private ways by deleting current Section 21-1 and adding a new Section 21-1, acceptance of private ways.
I would like to open the public hearing. Stop. Superintendent, would you like to come up and begin the public hearing and tell the city council why you are speaking in favor of this? And I know it's been a long night. Hopefully you've been able to
Councilor
get
Gilman,
some work done.
we're on the wrong public hearing for that.
Oh,
Private ways.
oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's my bad. Okay, so which one did you just read?
I did public hearing 2023-51.
Okay, and thank you so much. So I'm going to open the public hearing and continue to our January 9th, 2024 City Council meeting. Thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Public hearing 2023-54, amend GCO Chapter 21, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places by adding a new Article 5 entitled Petition for Alteration of Private Way.
I'd like to open that public hearing, and I would like to continue that to January 9th, 2024. And then now we are at public, go ahead.
Public hearing 2023-055. Amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 6, Traffic Schedules, Section 22-273, Parking Prohibited Between Certain Hours on Certain Days, subsection A, by deleting the words for 125 feet and adding until the crosswalk by the school building. Amend Section 22-159, same, between certain hours and on certain days, subsections 4 and 5 regarding Webster Street and Smith Street.
Now I'm going to open that public hearing and once again ask Superintendent Lummis to speak to us on this matter.
Thank you. I'm trying to log in so I can show you some slides. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. Recording apparently is in progress. Can I be moved like a participant so I can
Can
show
he
slides, or-
share his screen?
I agree.
I just promoted you to a panelist.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Not that
Is
loud.
that better?
That's much better.
Thank you. And share my screen.
Okay,
Right.
we're in business.
We are in business. So first and foremost, I want to thank City Council, the mayor, the DPW, the many improvements that were made on Webster Street and Eastern Avenue adjacent to the school have really helped create a safe and well-functioning arrival and dismissal, which I detailed in the memo I think you have. That includes widening Webster Street by adding a turning lane that goes into the school lot, dedicating turning lanes at the bottom of Webster Street, which is City Council approved, sidewalk improvements on Webster Avenue and Eastern Avenue, rapid flashers at the crosswalks on Eastern Avenue and Webster Street, new school zone signs on Eastern Avenue, and then, of course, the very obvious one, new paving, newly painted crosswalks, turn lane arrows, and striping. That all has helped out tremendously, so I really appreciate the mayor was able to find state money for the paving and some of the sidewalk work. And of course, the city council supported all of that, so appreciate it. Tonight, we have a very simple suggestion to make one last adjustment. We thought we'd come back maybe with some adjustments, just one, really. That's to help make a safer crossing at the school's primary crosswalk, and then ensure parked cars don't impede cars and buses during arrival and dismissal. Really what that means is the ordinance change would extend the no parking during school hours at this point by about 50 feet only. I'll explain that in a moment. And the other part of the change is removes the signage that was placed there temporarily on Pleasant and Shepherd Streets when St. Anne's was in play or was used as swing space. So that's just to remove those from there. The main piece of this is to we added, or the city added, no parking during school zones across from the school. And that area is heading down towards the Eastern Avenue intersection. We want to extend that upwards by about 50 feet at this point towards a curb cut, which is a driveway. Right now, as you can see, this is a good example here, this photo. You can see how there's not much space between the car and the yellow line. So when cars park in this area, which is a little bit narrower than other parts, cars are forced across the yellow line, they into oncoming traffic, and then it's at that point it starts to slow down and impede traffic coming down Webster Street, traffic coming up Webster Street, and also makes the buses, it's hard for the buses to pass. That sort of slows the traffic or stops it at times. Not too much at this point, but it makes for sort of a, just slows it down. It would make things flow better and make it easier for the buses to get out of their bus loop. And so all we're requesting is, you see the no parking is this area here on the left-hand photo. That stretch you can see from the sign that exists there now up to the curb cut there. So that's about 50 feet. That's all we're asking for an extension here, and just during school hours. So you see this no parking during school hours sign on the right. That's the sign you're seeing at the left hand of this picture there. Okay, you can see it's pointing to the left. We also would make it pointing up to the right, or probably change the sign so it starts near this curb cut, driveway and comes down. Does that make sense to folks? Just that gap there.
Very helpful.
Good. So that's something that's already been done. Is you can see the cars are parking very close to the crosswalk. This red and red car and pickup truck are essentially in the area that's not allowed in terms of being too close to a crosswalk. So already DPW working with the police have added this sign here, no parking, to make that safe. What these cars were doing, and it just wasn't, it was cars regularly doing, was blocking the sight lines of that crosswalk, making it more dangerous. Obviously, that's been addressed here already. This is a current photo with no parking sign here pointing towards a crosswalk to eliminate that. So that's essentially has already been accomplished. It's great. It's a nice change. DPW and police were able to, so that allows them to enforce the, folks who are parking too close to that crosswalk. That's really all I have for tonight. Again, the change really is just right here, and that'll allow buses and cars to move a little bit easier than they do now. I will say, this is sort of a minor change at this point because everything else is working so well.
Thank you, Superintendent. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this? Would anyone like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Are there any communications, Madam Clerk?
No, there are not.
Are there any questions from counselors? Council member, I see that you have your hand up.
I appreciate the smoothness with which all this work has taken place and the progress that's been made in terms of making the school a safe, accessible place, and a lot of the nightmares and anticipated horror shows of traffic for the number of students and parents coming in and out of that school have evaporated largely. My one specific concern for Mr. Loomis and others, and I've raised this with the mayor's office, is that while minor and modest, this is nonetheless contrary to what was promised to people living on Webster Street. A number of those properties are owner occupied with multi-tenants within them, and they don't have off-street parking for their tenants, and their tenants work and are coming in and out. And the project has in fact reduced parking on Webster Street for the neighborhood quite significantly on the other side of the street.
May I just, I hate to correct you, but can we keep this to questions right now? Because
I
We
would
don't
just
wanna
like to
be
know.
deliberating.
I need to know on behalf of the constituents that have regularly reached out to me since this went into place, when Councillor O'Neill triggered the fact that there was a line of sight problem at the crosswalk. Where are these residents on Webster Street and their tenants supposed to park, and can they use school property for that purpose?
So the question, Superintendent, is where will people be able to park? I don't know if there's any member of city staff that's still on the call on the hearing.
The only parking that's going away,
Can you speak a little bit
the only
louder?
parking that's going away outside of the school day is near that crosswalk. Otherwise, all the other parking is available from 4 p.m. to 8 a.m. basically. So it's just during the school day.
When the project was put before us, we were assured that the neighborhood would be able to use the facility in a variety of ways, including enjoying the gym after hours, and also parking in the extensive school parking lot. And I'm just trying to understand what public access you can permit without interfering with your opening and closing, that the neighbors can in fact take advantage of to offset the basically the promises that have been broken, in terms of, it may just be a few, but these people don't have another place to park. They live there, or they rent the building and have tenants who live there. So I appreciate the situation, Superintendent Loomis. I'm just trying to provide some clarity that the city has in fact changed its messaging, and the people who live on Webster Street are really concerned about how to address this relatively minor issue, but it is a challenging one for them. It's created a new problem, especially if they're working and they have different work hours as to when they can park and when they have to move their cars, because they have been getting tickets for parking in front of their own homes in places where they've parked for 20 years.
I don't know of any promises about parking in school parking lots during school hours or after school hours that were made. Okay, I'm not aware of any of those. I don't remember any of those. Of course, we in all our parking lots during snow emergencies that folks park in those and are expected to and allowed to. I guess I'm not clear on the impact you're describing in terms of prior to when Veteran School was there, they had the same thing about no parking during there was I believe there was a restriction during school hours. Those at that time, I believe, which is just like we have now. And then, I don't know if you're asking for parking to happen near that crosswalk.
Right. All I'm saying is residents have asked me to ask you, where the heck are they supposed to park? What we've done is created new crosswalks, and the new crosswalks have resulted in requiring new setbacks. And the setbacks have extended out, and then they've extended out further for line of sight. So the people who live on these streets across and from the entrance of the school now have no place to park, whether it's during the day or, again, if you live there, it's hard to coordinate your schedule with the school schedule. I'm just looking for an alternative place that the school can offer them for where they can park their cars.
Councilmember, I'm not, I don't know how to determine or delineate where folks are able or allowed to park. I'm not sure if that's really, my purview in this case. I'm advocating.
I'm just going back to certain commitments that I heard you make, and the school committee make, and the building committee make on behalf of. Again, I'm not speaking. I have constituents that are reaching out to me, and I apologize if I'm making a full point of it. I have a little bit of a fever, and I'm suffering COVID, so that may be reflecting my stubbornness here, which is more than usual.
I'm honestly not aware you're saying that I made public about parking. So it's hard for me to respond to a claim of commitments that we've made when I'm not sure which ones you're referring to. We've always known that there were going to be crosswalks there from the original design. That was made publicly. People were aware of that publicly. We showed that in all our presentations, and there's always setbacks from parking from crosswalks, and that we would want those enforced so students and families can cross safely.
I guess I should just say thank you, Ben, very much. And I've raised the issue. I've raised it previously with the administration and with the school building committee. You're aware of it. I don't think we need to pursue it any further right now. We're not going to resolve it. And I appreciate your being aware of it and doing the best that you and your staff can do, working with the city and the DPW and police to avoid creating disruption for the people who've lived in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Not deliberating. Council O'Neill has her hand raised.
Yes, thank you. I don't believe, I'm with Councilor Memhard. I don't believe that he got an answer. So that was my question as well. I've had people calling me. I did have, per the police officer at the school, he requested that we put in a sign, no parking from here to the crosswalk. And I got some phone calls about that, and there's not much I can do. I mean, the police requested it. It's in the city ordinance that you can't park so close to a crosswalk. So I too am getting some heat from this. As Councilor Memhard mentioned, you know, they've been parking there for 40, 50 years, not just 20 years. They've been there their whole lives. So I know this is question part, so I'll wait till it's time to deliberate.
Okay,
But I
thank you,
don't believe
Counselor.
that Councilor Memhard's question got answered. Was there an answer of where these people can park?
Council member did not feel like he was going to continue the question. Is that correct, Council member?
I don't think we're going to resolve it tonight at this point. I think it's an outstanding issue and matter that the school committee and the mayor's office need to address on behalf of the commitments that were made as part of this wonderful new school building project, which has gone so well and I'm so proud of. But we do have some little tweaks that need to be addressed to make it possible for the neighborhood and the school to coexist without causing hardship on people who've lived there a long time.
Any further questions? Council Worthley.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. Thanks for the photos too. That was very helpful. Couple of questions. I'm going to ask Council Memhard's question a different way. In a snow emergency, can people in the area park at the school?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the concern there always is that
So the mic, if
you
you
know,
could.
when the snow emergency ends, is that we need people to be out of the parking lots, you know, in any school by 7 a.m. so our staff can come in. You know, and I understand there's a recent conversation with DPW to have signage, you know, at veterans, so people are clear about that. You know, it's very, very difficult if folks don't leave by 7 o'clock to clear the snow that's there and make it then accessible for, you know, school employees and then also families. So
And for
that's
DPW to
really
plow it.
important.
Go ahead, further questions?
Just a couple more. Initially, you said, I just want to be clear, you said during school hours, you also said between 8 and 4. I'm not sure if it's either or both.
Yeah, it's just consistent with the sign that's already been put up there. So
And what is it, 8 to 4?
8 to 4. Yeah, that's right.
East Veterans starts at 8:10. Would it be helpful to have that be 7:30? Because to tell someone to move a car at 8, I mean, it's just kind of
Yeah, school day starts at 8:30. Folks start arriving, you know, at 8:10 or so, you know. So, but no, I would just keep it consistent with what's already been established there.
Okay, I just seen if you needed more time.
You know, 8 to 4 is plenty.
But then the 4, school gets out at 2:30. So can we back that up so that if it's 3 o'clock, for example, people who are coming home earlier, maybe could.
Yeah, I think that's possible. You know, I don't know how DPW decides on what the signage here is. I think 3 is probably reasonable. But then just make it consistent for both areas. That's all.
That's fair. And then if someone were to park on the school property at night, someone lives in the area, they park at night and they move before 7 in the morning, what would happen now?
It just doesn't happen in our schools, honestly. So, you know, I mean, obviously at places like O'Malley, folks are parking there because there are events there's hockey.
I mean, if a resident in Webster Street were to park in the school lot at night, come home at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and park.
I would have to discuss that with DPW and how they want to handle it. No, I'm not able to make a decision like that.
Is there a prohibition right now? I mean, I'm just trying to ask, it's a public lot, but it's school property, so I don't
honestly.
even know.
I really don't know. I just know it does not happen in our lots except for places where there are nighttime, events going on.
Okay, you've answered my questions. Thank you.
Council Majota.
I just have one question. You're requesting the no parking for safety of the children who are crossing the crosswalk and for students traveling on a bus, correct?
I'm requesting for the safety of the crosswalk, definitely, and then also to make sure that the flow of traffic, which neighbors have been very, concerned about, isn't held up anyways. Which is now when those cars park in the area that we're requesting, that is what happens.
Thank you.
I have a question. It's, I think, an easy one. So you had said all along that this is kind of an ongoing process. You're going to continue to evaluate everything, correct?
No, I'd like to clarify that if I can.
Sure,
Yeah.
of course.
No, that we figured once arrival and dismissal started happening, that it was likely that we would have to make adjustments.
Yes.
And so this is the only adjustment we see coming back for. I don't think it's ongoing from here, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That answers my question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're done with the questions.
well-
Council O'Neill has her hand raised. Go ahead, Council O'Neill, a question.
Thank
before we
you.
Close the public hearing.
So, thank you. So just to reiterate, the no parking sign that you want from the driveway down to Eastern Avenue, correct? Is that where you want it?
No, it's actually, there's a no parking during school hours sign right now.
Right.
It exists.
But-
I showed that. And that goes down to Eastern Avenue.
Right. So it would be from the driveway all the way to Eastern Avenue where they could not park.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, and that
Just
is.
during those
that-
hours, just during those hours.
Right, and that is for the flow of traffic, not for the safety of the children.
Well, I mean, if you have, it all is connected.
Understood. Okay, so I want to just follow up on Council Worthley's question about residents parking in the school parking lot at night. I didn't get it. I didn't understand a clear answer. Can people park in that parking lot at night because you're going to take all their parking spaces away?
So,
I mean, that's a lot of parking spaces. I mean,
no, it actually is not a lot of parking spaces. It's first of all, the city's ordinance around near crosswalks, that's inviolate. Okay, the area we're talking about is 50 feet. It's at the most 2 or 3 parking spaces. Not a lot of parking spaces.
well, plus it extends down to Eastern Ave, so they can't park there either anymore. So it's more than 50 feet that they're losing. They're losing at least 100 feet, right?
They're losing time only during the school hours.
Right,
So-
but nonetheless, they are losing parking. So the question is, I'm sorry. The question is, can they park? Go ahead. Go ahead.
So they're not losing parking at night, except for near crosswalks. Okay. They are losing some parking during the school day.
Have you taken into account that maybe some of the parking on the side of the road is parents dropping children off?
I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah. So
And we don't want them to park there.
so
We want them to get into the very well handled and very smooth drop-off line.
Okay. So if people can park on Webster Street at night, can they park in the school lot during the day where there's no parking during the day from 8 to 4 or 8 to 3? Can they park in the school lot?
No, they can't park in the school lot that's being used for school purposes.
Council, I think we need to call the question. So I'm going to close the public hearing. And I'm going to ask for the committee report.
On a motion by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor Majota, the Ordinance and Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to direct the City Council amend the Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 6, Traffic Schedules, Section 22-273A and Section 22-159(4) and 5 as follows. Section 22-273, parking prohibited between certain hours on certain days. When signs are in place, given notice, therefore, it shall be unlawful for any person to park vehicle upon the following streets or parts therefore between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. on school days in accordance with Section 22-159. Webster Street, westerly side, beginning at a point of 95 feet north at its intersection with Eastern Avenue and continuing north, delete for 125 feet, add until the crosswalk by the school building. Section 22-159, same, between certain hours on certain days, delete 4, Webster Street on the southwesterly side, beginning at the intersection with Eastern Avenue and continuing for 485 feet on school days for the hours between 7 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. Delete 5, Smith Street, while school's in session, Smith Street southerly side from its intersection with Pleasant Street in a westerly direction to Maplewood Avenue, no parking between the hours of 8:30 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. to 3:15 p.m. plus pickup and drop off only. And I so move.
Motion is made by Councilor Nolan, seconded by Councilor Grow. Is there a narrative, Councilor Nolan?
As we've heard from Ben at O&A and as well as tonight, we're basically moving around some more spots to make room for safer access for the turn-in and dropping off and picking up of students, and just trying to make a greater area for it to be safe for the new school. It is another small adjustment to what is existing and which has already been working well and seems to be not having that much of a problem for the existing neighborhood as it stands.
Thank you. Is there a discussion, councilors? Let's see, why don't we go and roll call on this one? So we'll start with Councilor Nolan. You've already spoken. Yes, do you have anything else to add? Councilor O'Hara on the motion.
I will be supporting this, but I think as asked by Councilor Memhard and Councilor O'Neill, I think the city and the schools need to be cognizant of the people who live in the neighborhood. It was a known commodity. The parking was a premium before the project was even tabled years ago. And the neighborhood has seen a definite deficit loss in parking spaces. These parking spaces can't be created any place because it's such a dense area. Again, going forward, I think the city and the school need to really be aware of the neighbors, the people who are living there day in, day out, to move off the property at 7 o'clock. You know, I'm sure, you know, the snow removal efforts, the plow people are going to be maintaining the plow lot. It's just, again, going forward, I think just willy-nilly eliminating a single parking space creates a headache to someone who lives in the neighborhood. So again, that's all. We need to stand up for the constituents of the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you. There's no way I can support this. I'm sorry. Contrary to what Councilor Nolan said, they're not moving parking spaces around, they're taking parking spaces away. And if they can't park on the street from 8 to 4, and they can't park in the school lot from 8 to 4, what are they supposed to do? This is a real problem. This is huge for people. I mean, if you go to the grocery store, I mean, you probably park and then you just walk up your walkway and get in your door. I do. That's great. But these people, where are they going to? Bad enough if they are allowed. Maybe the city can have special parking stickers for them that they can put on their windshield so that they are a Webster Street resident and they're allowed to park in the school lot during school hours. There has to be. I mean, as Councilor O'Hara said, this was discussed long before the school was ever built. This is a major problem. It's if they can't park on the street and they can't park in the school lot, where are they supposed to park? No one can answer that. There is no answer. They have to park somewhere. They have to work. They have to drive to their work. They have cars. What are they supposed to do? Where are they supposed to go? There's no place else to go. Friend Street is full. Sadler Street is full. Eastern Avenue is full. All these places, there is no extra parking spaces, and you've taken parking spaces at the top of the hill that used to be there. I know they're parking, parallel parking now, so they took away, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 parking spaces from that part of the school or that part of the street at the top of the hill. And, we're taking it away from the crosswalk, which is appropriate, but to take it away from the bottom of the hill is just that much too much. So I won't be supporting this. We need to listen to the residents.
Thank you, Counselor. I am going to be supporting this. I do think that we have to watch everything closely. And at times, I think that we put too much on the weight of the superintendent who needs to be leading the school district. And some of these questions need to continue to be made at the city administration level. But I really think that we need to, I think we need to move forward with this. I think it's reasonable what is being asked, and so I will be supporting this. Councilor Gross. Oh,
I think Councilor Worthley was,
I'm
skip.
sorry.
I'm-
Totally wrong
I'm
for me to
amenable.
jump in front of Council
It's not
Worthley.
fine.
Go ahead.
you.
My mistake.
No problem. So firstly, I do appreciate the concern of the parking. It's a legitimate concern. What I heard today is during the snow emergencies, schools are available, as school lots are available. Obviously, there needs to be some flexibility for plowing those lots. And I don't see that people who can't park on the street should be able to park in the school lot, because that's where teachers and support staff and custodians and administration are parking, as expected, I think. Maybe there's something the city can do. I don't know, maybe talk to the fraternity club or negotiate with some other place. I don't really know. And it's really not Mr. Lummis's responsibility to say where do they park if they can't park in the street. So I respect that he wouldn't be able to answer that question. I do have a sort of internal kind of question where first of all, should we be bifurcating these two motions? No, procedurally questions. Should we be bifurcating these two motions? There's 2 separate motions, the one on Smith Street and Pleasant Street, and then Webster Street. They're separate
Just
motions
strike-
though.
we're just-
Well, they're separate motions, separate streets, separate ordinances, really, when you think. Just. I would think the ordinance book would require a street to be delineated separately. I'll defer to our assistant city clerk. Right, I'm just wondering if it should have been separate. I mean, I'm okay voting for it as is. The only question is the one on Pleasant Street and Smith Street specify time 7:30 to 2:30. And then we heard from Mr. Lummis that he's flexible as long as it's consistent with the other signs during school hours, 8 to 4. Should we either add to the motion to say something where the DPW can adjust those times, or should we be specific with the times? Because every other ordinance in our book specifies times very specifically, not just sort of during school hours, just like the one we're deleting specifies the times. Again, I know it's not questions on the motions in terms of the validity of the moves. It's just a question of what should it look like when it's done? Just during school hours, or 8 to 4, or 7:30 to 2:30? Does anyone have an answer on that one? Council.
Nolan, we vetted this at O&A.
I'm fine with the school hours. School hours can change a little bit here and there, but I believe that the 8 to 4 is the numbers that we talked about. This is something that can be visited again in the near future. There's no end all to this. If there's a large issue with it being a problem, we can revisit it. If the time is too much or too little, or if they find it's not needed, it can be revisited. So I think in the simplicity of things as written in the motion that was read, that's the motion that I think that I would support tonight, and move forward and see how that works.
I just want to clarify, because I don't remember the motion. Was it 8 to 4, or was it during school hours? So I'd either like to amend it to include school hours instead of 8 to 4, or I think we
But
heard.
if I may,
Council Gross, do you have a point of order here, a procedure?
I do have a point of order.
And
If you
state
read
your
it,
point.
if you read the recommendation, it says when signs are in place, given notice thereof, there shall be unlawful for any person to park a vehicle upon the following streets and parts thereof between the hours of 8 AM and 4 PM on school days in accordance to section 22-159. So times are right in here.
Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion. I think we heard that 3 o'clock was okay, Mr. Lummis. You don't have to confirm or deny that, but I think you said 3 o'clock would be okay. But for people who park on the street, an hour could be the difference between coming home and parking and having to look for a place. So I'd like to make a motion to either, and I'll defer to Council Nolan, let's make it just during school hours, or
You amending the motion?
yes,
All right, so you're amending the motion to state what, Counselor?
from hours between 8 AM and 3 PM.
Okay, so
I
the
so move.
amendment is made by Counsel Worthley to amend it
Second.
from 8 to 3, second by Counsel Nolan. Is there a discussion on the amendment to the main motion? Counsel Worthley made it, so would you like to?
Oh, no, I mean, so
Okay.
on the, I'd like to speak on the main motion, but on this motion, I work from home, I have a driveway, so I understand I don't have the kind of concerns that some people do, but other people who are coming home in the afternoon, it might make sense if school's out at 2:30, that half hour, I like to think that that gives enough time for the buses to leave without the obstruction of the cars. And if it means someone gets home at 3 o'clock and they can find a place to park, I think it's worth doing. So, and then we could obviously revisit if that becomes a problem. Thank you.
Counsel Nolan on the amendment.
I have no problem with the amendment of moving it to 3, because even Superintendent Loomis had said that 3 o'clock was a time that would work for him. That may be a little bit of a compromise for the neighborhood to gain an extra hour in the afternoon for them to have the access for the parking. So I'm all right with the motion.
Any further discussion, Counsel Grow?
I asked for a suspend, and I hate suspending the rules, but could we ask the superintendent, since he's sitting there, if that is in fact how he feels about a 3 o'clock difference?
I would approve suspending the rules to ask Superintendent Lummis. Would you mind coming back to the podium? Sorry to keep you up so late.
He's trying to get his dinner down.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
You know, there at some point, yeah, I think that's totally fine.
All right.
At 3 o'clock, it's very quiet around there. All the
Okay.
cars have been gone because you have nice flow and good management. So 3 o'clock.
There's no pressing after-school programs or anything like that?
And at that point, folks can park in the, there's plenty of space at the point. Not a problem.
Okay, is everybody clear on what we're voting for right now on the amendment to the main motion to change it from 4 o'clock to 3? Okay. So on the amendment, roll call vote, Counsel Nolan,
Yes.
Counsel O'Hara,
Yes.
Counsel O'Neill,
Yes.
Counsel Worthley,
Yes.
Counsel Gilman, yes, Counsel Gross,
Yes.
Counsel Grow,
Yep.
Counsel Majota,
Yes.
Counsel Memard.
Yes, thank you.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Now we're back to the main motion.
If I could just kind of finish where I left off, I think, if I may,
Go ahead.
I want to commend the schools for, ultimately, there is a loss of parking, but these moves make it safer for students and make the flow of traffic in the neighborhood better by allowing buses to leave more expeditiously. So I think that there is upside, there's downside, but there's upside to the neighborhood in terms of traffic flow. So I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Any further discussion, counselors, on the main motion as amended? Seeing none, roll call vote. Counsel Nolan,
Yes.
Counsel O'Hara,
Yes.
Counsel O'Neill,
No.
Counsel Worthley,
Yes.
Counsel Gilman, yes, Counsel Gross,
Yes.
Counsel Grow.
Yep.
Counsel Majota,
Yes.
Counsel Memard.
Yes, and thank you, Ben, for your work on this.
Yeses have it, 8 in favor, 1 opposed. Counsel O'Neill. Thank you very much, Superintendent. Thank you.
Ben.
Thank you.
Next,
can, I suppose.
next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Individual counselors' discussion, including reports by appointed counselors.
M-
to
Madam
committees.
President,
Counsel
Madam
Conrad.
President. Yeah, I'm at about my limit of sitting here. The leg is starting to tell me bad things. So I'm gonna leave for now.
Hold
Night,
fast. Hold
Counsel
Have
fast.
a
Good
good
Gross.
night. I'm gonna come by and grab Lily for the night.
Hold fast.
No,
We
you
You'll
don't.
have to-
appreciate
you'll
you
have to wrestle
lasting
with
so
Abby.
long, Counsel Gross, so thank you.
I'm going to jump on Tony's lead and follow him out the door, if you don't mind. Thank you all very much.
Okay, good
Thank you,
night, Counsel
Councilor Memard.
Memard and Counsel Gross.
I'm gonna go too.
So, Counsel Nolan, would you make the 400 celebration on that? We don't really have any of those. It's just goes to request to the mayor.
So I get to be the last one to do this. Or the last one for the year. I have done it before. 2023 marks 400 years since the English Dorchester Company landed on our shores. Gloucester sits on the ancestral homeland of the Pawtucket people and their neighbors, the Massachusetts Nipmuc and Pennacock and Wampanoag tribes. Please enjoy the year-long and multiple events throughout 2023, most of which will be free or low cost. Visit gloucester400.org for a list of upcoming events. Like and share the Gloucester 400 Facebook page. To receive major event notifications by email, send a request to info@gloucestermass400.org.
Thank you. And now, final order of business, Madam Clerk.
Counselors' request to the mayor.
And we will go by roll call vote. Counsel Nolan.
I just want to do a couple of thank yous. One for the Magnolia Library Center for their wonderful Christmas evening and celebration for the holidays. There's a few others that went around the city that is absolutely gorgeous, but I'd rather keep that with people in their ward. I want to thank the council for the last 2 years of working with us. I want to say thank you to Tracy and also to Councilor O'Hara for their time. It's one of those things that it takes a lot more time than people think, and there's a lot of tough decisions that you have to make. And just stepping up and trying to do the best you can for the city is all we can ask of anybody. And I want to thank you both.
Thank you, Counselor. Counsel O'Hara.
Thank you. I just want to thank the citizens of Gloucester for, again, as I said earlier, for their support over the years. I want to thank the United States Army and Navy for selecting Gillette Stadium for the most recent Army Navy football game. That was a great spectacle, and certainly great for Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Again, with that said, that's the America's Super Bowl, really should be, because the men and women, and as I've said over the years, armed services are so important. They protect us 24/7, 365. We don't even know what they're doing, but they're keeping our land safe. And please keep the men and women of the armed forces in your prayers. There'll be a Red Cross Dana-Farber combined blood drive at Our Ladies on December 28th. So that's this time of year is a tough time for people. Blood is in short supply right now. People obviously are busy with the holidays, but please consider there is so much need for blood, and to please consider rolling up your sleeve on December 28th. You can either call Dana-Farber Craft Blood Services or the American Red Cross. Thank you, and wish everybody happy holidays. Thank you for, again, being able to serve the constituents of Gloucester.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor O'Neill.
Yes, thank you. I would like to also thank my constituents and everyone who helped me and showed up to my meetings and supported me these last 2 years. I hope my predecessor will continue to have neighborhood meetings and that members of the public will continue to show up and participate. Good government is only good when the public is steadfast in their involvement. So thank you very much, and it's been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Worthley.
Yes, just a couple of things. I'd like to commend David Brooks and all the people who were involved with, I think, Sean Henry. I can't name them all, I'm sorry, that helped build the Gloucester Lobster Trap Christmas tree, which has been moved temporarily, at least to Solomon Jacobs Park. If you haven't seen it, you should take a look at it. Or go on Councilor Grove's Facebook page. He posted some beautiful pictures of it as well. I'd like to specifically thank you, Council President Gilman, and Council Vice President Nolan. I think being a city council is a hard job. Being a president and a vice president is not easy. It's a lot more work. People don't appreciate, I think, how much additional work it is. So thank you both. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We have Inauguration Day coming up. Is it 1 o'clock? So I'd like to make a public announcement. I mean, I think we've said it publicly, but just really invite the public. It's always an inspiring event, and hope to see people there. Thank the city staff, thank Grace for your hard work all year, and also specifically tonight too. And thank the public, thank all my colleagues. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Worthley. Councilor Gross. He's gone. Councilor Gross. Oh. Councilor Grow. Yeah.
I don't know my alphabet very well. I just want to, I'm going to add, I want to thank my colleagues on the council. It's been a wild ride for 2 years. We've had a lot of issues to deal with that have been contentious and challenging, and involved a lot of community input. And I appreciate that we haven't always had the same point of view, but we've managed to get through it. And I do appreciate each and every one of you and your service to the city. And I do especially want to commend both you, Val, and you, Sean, for your roles as leadership on this herding of cats, which is basically what your job is. We know that. I think you've both comported yourself with distinction, with great efforts at fairness and equity, and I appreciate all that you've done. Our clerk's office has been amazing. Grace, you and Joanne and everybody, Sherry, have all done a terrific job, and I look forward to your service next year. And finally, I just want to say we've said goodbye to Tracy and to Jamie, but I think we should also welcome Dylan Benson, new to Ward 2, and Marjorie Grace, new to Ward 3, who will be taking those seats in a couple weeks. And we look forward to their being present here after the first. That's it.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Majota.
Yes, I just want to, thank you, President Gilman and Vice President Sean. Thank you so much for everything you guys done. Being a first-year counselor, I really was able to learn from not just you, everyone on the council. I requested the mayor, really, I think we need a clock for the 3 minutes rather than having a person just yell 10 seconds left. To have a clock visible for someone to see it will be really helpful to them, speed up their time, and that would just be really great to have, I think. No, a digital clock right there on the table would be awesome. And just wish the best to Tracy O'Neill and Jamie O'Hara. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm the last. I love the clock idea. So I just want to say thank you for the council, for Counselor Nolan and the city clerk's office. It's been a journey these 2 years. It's been the middle part of COVID. It's been trying to transition to hybrid and being excited about it, and then have the fire occur. It was some huge zoning issues that I think we did a really good job reaching out in 5 different wards. And we did something that hadn't been done before. We actually had Zoom meetings during COVID to get input from our constituents. And I think we set the bar high for how we really want to model reaching out to our constituents. And I think it's been tough because, social media has been tough. People are cranky. It's been people are feeling the pain of just having been through a pandemic. And I think, my wish going forward is that we stay focused on our issues as a council and as a city, and just always put those words out there. What's the issue? Let's really work hard not to personalize things and keep moving together, because we have so many opportunities in the city. And I'm looking forward to tackling them with our new council and with the citizens of Gloucester. So thank you all. Thank you, Studio 1623 and Ryan and the team. And I think that's it. So I'm going to hit the gavel, and then I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And we need a roll call vote, because we still have Council O'Neill and Council O'Hara on remote land. So thank you for sticking with us till the end. Council Nolan.
Yes.
Council O'Hara.
Yes.
Council O'Neill.
Yes.
Council Worthley.
Yes.
Council Gilman. Yes. Council Grow.
Most definitely.
Council Majota.
I hate for this to end, but I'm going to vote yes.
The yeses have it, 6 in
So
favor,
dramatic.
3 absent. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Night.
Good night.
Not 3 absent. Oh, 3 absent were